Welcome to Try Friend Heroes, a Legend of Groose podcast. I'm Ellen.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm sadly not Groose. I'm just Cosm.
It can only be one.
Yeah, really. I was really mad at when Girahim insulted Groose's hair. I completely 180'd in all of my feelings about Groose, which I think is the point. Mm-hmm. But still. It made me laugh. I was like, no, how dare you insult him? And then I was like, I was really mad at him.
It's like, only I can insult Groose's hair.
Yeah, only I can insult Groose's hair and be mad about him being obnoxious or whatever. But no. So, anyway. In this game, Legend of Groose Skyward Sword, a young guy who cares, named Link, of Skyloft, dives down below the floating island to save his friend Zelda, but then the two end up on a quest to awaken as a goddess and also awaken as a hero to save the world from Demise again. Or for the first time? Question mark.
As you do.
When I wrote that line originally, I was like, I'm going to be clever and say they're saving the world again for the first time because I'm talking about how Skyward Sword is like the first game in the series, and then after I wrote it, I finished watching the playthrough where they go back in time, and I was like, oh shit. It's like, my joke is accurate. How dare. Anyway, this highly critically acclaimed game was released for the Wii originally in November 2011 and sold 3.67 million copies, which is not the most, but not the least. I think it's like more than Spirit Tracks, but less than Phantom Hourglass, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, I only realized later that the stats page I was looking at, which I always link, which you can look at in the episode notes for this episode, also has re-releases separated, because the re-release for this, so the Switch version, sold like 3.8 something million copies, so it sold more than the original version.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's more Wii consoles. I think there's more Switch consoles than there were Wii consoles. Yeah. If you kind of like look at the Wii era, other than like Twilight Princess, there's this kind of like dip in the total sales of like all these games, and then for Breath of the Wild, it's like 30 million copies. Mm-hmm. So I think there's...
I think a lot of people owned Wiis, but I think a lot of them weren't playing games like Zelda.
I think they were playing Wii Bowling and Mario Party.
Mm-hmm. Actually, and a lot of that hype had died down by the time Skyward Sword came out.
Yeah,
it was more toward the end of the lifespan.
Pretty sure the Wii U came out in 2012, right? I thought we were talking about this when we talked about Twilight Princess, because I talked about the Wii U then, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2012. So it was kind of the end days of the Wii when this game came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really only figured out how to make the Wiimote do what they wanted it to do toward the end of the Wii's life. So then they were like, now we can release Skyward Sword.
Sword fighting game. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of sword fighting in this game, too. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in a good way, I guess. Yeah. I
feel like that's what they always wanted to do when they were planning the Wii. Sword fighting.
Yeah. I'm 100% sure. Mm-hmm. I'm 100% sure that the Wii wasn't meant to be put into a gun attachment. However, we'll talk about it in a couple months. Because I think actually I was looking. Hold on, wait. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I thought I saw that the sales for Link's crossbow training were like pretty high. Link's crossbow training sold 5.79 million copies. That's almost as much as the first, like the Wii sales and the Switch sales for this game. So that made me chuckle when I saw that.
Yeah, that was back when the Wii gimmick games were still fun and exciting. So.
Yeah, and I literally bought that fucking. It came with an attachment. I bought the attachment just to play that game, which I think we've discussed before. But yeah, and it was really fun. But yeah, so it sold more. It sold less. This game sold less than Link's crossbow training, just for the record, on the original console that it debuted on, which is hilarious to me. Okay, sorry, I got lost in my notes. What was I going to say? Oh, highly critical acclaim, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, and it was re-released on the Wii U Virtual Console in 2016, and then it was re-released for the Switch in, I think, 2021. Like all Zelda games, it was super highly critically acclaimed, but then people had their complaints, as per usual. Like, the motion controls were kind of hard to use. I think that was one complaint. And then people don't like Fi because they don't like Navi. And they don't like how verbose Fi is, which is kind of hilarious. Yes.
I think she's so unhelpful that she becomes hilarious.
There's like an 80% chance that Zelda is here. And I'm like, do you think, Fi? Well, to be fair, she is like the consciousness of a sword, so maybe we need to cut her some slack. She's not even as
as far as swords go, she's a great conversationalist.
Because like Navi and like Tattle are fairies. They're like ethereal beings. She's like a consciousness of an object. Like, I don't know. Some of the other like criticism at the time was like that the gameplay elements were kind of expected. Oh, and also that it was very linear. I think that people didn't like that. Even compared to a game like, for example, Majora's Mask, where like you can like fast travel to places. You could still fast travel anywhere you'd been. You didn't have to like go in, like you could go from one statue to another, which I don't think you could do, which you can't do in Skyward Sword. You have to go like back up to the sky and like fly around to like be able to land in a different place and stuff. So I don't know. That's just one of the comments that people had in general, but I thought it was a good game, which we can talk about later in our impressions. Anyway, now it's my time to seamlessly segue to you, Kayla.
Yay.
To summarize The Legend of Groose. Skyward Sword. How many more times can I make that joke before it's not funny?
About two less than you have.
I think I bet like one more time, but it has to be in like half, like 3/4 of the way through the recording or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say you need to let it lie for a while, and then you can get one last zinger in.
Exactly. I'll save it. I won't. I'm gonna forget. Except for when we start talking about Groose and how he's great.
All right, buckle up, because I tried to make this succinct and it's still 5 pages long.
Sometimes I'd be playing the game and I'd be like, why am I here again? So enjoy.
Thousands of years ago, not long after the 3 golden goddesses created the world and the sacred Triforce, the earth suddenly cracked open, and the demon king Demise and his malevolent forces rushed through, destroying the land and killing all who stood in their way as they sought the great power granted by the Triforce. The Triforce had been left in the protection of a goddess named Hylia. Fearing for the safety of her own people, Hylia gathered all the humans and the Triforce on an outcropping of land and sent it high into the sky, out of the reach of the demon hordes. Then she and the rest of the surface dwellers fought back the Demon King and sealed him away, restoring peace. In the present day, the people of Hylia have become a thriving society above the clouds, centered on an island called Skyloft. A boy named Link and a girl named Zelda, friends since childhood, both train at the Night Academy, where they learn to fly skillfully on giant birds known as loftwings and protect the people of Skyloft. And today is the Wing Ceremony, where some of the students compete for the honor of playing the role of the chosen hero to Zelda's goddess in a traditional reenactment. Despite some interference from local jealous bully Groose, Link handily wins and earns this sweet private moment with Zelda as they perform the ritual atop Skyloft's enormous goddess statue. After this, they go on a nice flight together on their loftwings, and that's when everything goes wrong, as a tornado suddenly whips up out of nowhere and knocks Zelda from her bird. She plummets down through the clouds, and though Link tries to dive after her, he is also thrown by the winds and knocked unconscious, though his loftwing manages to catch him and carry him to safety. Before he wakes, he has a vision of a strange figure calling out to him, telling him that she is waiting and it is time. He sees that same figure again in the waking world, and follows her to a secret room within the statue of the goddess. I always pronounced it as Fi, but everyone else I hear says Fee.
Oh, I always thought it was Fi.
I don't know. I just called her Fee, but I don't think it matters. Does everybody call her that?
I don't know. Everyone I've heard in like videos I see says Fee, but I've always said Fi, so I'm probably going to say Fi to the summary.
Just go for it. I don't think
alerting people.
We don't.
I don't think there's an official pronunciation because there's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue that is understandable in any language, at least, as far as I know. I thought I saw...
I think I was like Fi, like sky, right?
I guess so. Some say Faye. Some of the names, all the other translations are Faye. Yeah, it's definitely not that. Like...
I wonder what the Japanese text is.
I was trying to find it, but it doesn't say on here. Yeah, why don't you say in this Zelda wiki? What the hell? Fee is meant to appear between 13 and 14 years old. Is that so? I feel like she seems older.
Yeah, something about her does seem old.
Wait, she has arms? Hyrule Story explains that Fee actually has arms under the winged gown, but they don't appear in-game because there was no need for them. Don't lie to me. Yeah, in the table of names, it says French, Faye, French... Oh, it's French Canada for some reason. German is Phai, F-P-H-A-I. I don't know how to pronounce that in German, sorry.
Here's what I found. It looks like in Japanese it is Fi.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Hey, vindication.
Yeah, you're right. You do you.
Anyway, sorry, I just thought about that as I'm looking at her name there.
Almost every time we record, I'm like, is that how you say it? Because they never say anybody's names out loud, like, ever. So.
Here she introduces herself as Fi, a being created by the goddess for the sole purpose of aiding Link in his destined role as the chosen hero. She bids him to draw the sword resting in a pedestal at the room's center, assuring him that Zelda is still alive and also has a destined role to play here, so following his own is the best way to meet her again. This wipes away any trace of doubt Link had, and he rushes forward to draw the sword. Fi tells him more of the long, arduous journey he must embark upon in order to prevent disaster befalling the world, then provides him with the means of piercing the cloud barrier below Skyloft and descending to the surface, a place thought only legend to the people of the sky. The first place Link reaches in this land below is the ruins of an ancient temple, which overlooks a large, spiraling pit with an ominous black spike at its center, a place known as the Sealed Grounds. An old woman resides within the temple, and she greets Link like an expected guest, telling him that Zelda also arrived here not long ago, but also notes that an evil force seems to be trying to warp the events that should follow. She tells Link that Zelda headed into Faron Woods in pursuit of her destiny, and urges Link to go after her. He does so, reaching a temple at the heart of the woods and descending into its depths. There he meets not Zelda, but a strange being called Girahim, who calls himself a demon lord and claims credit for the tornado that knocked Zelda from the sky. He taunts Link for a bit, telling him about how easily Zelda should have fallen into his hands if she weren't snatched away by some servant of the goddess. Even the memory of this disruption to his plans makes him angry, and he eventually lashes out at Link. Link is able to hold his own better than Girahim expected, but he gets bored of the fight once he senses Zelda is no longer nearby and continues on his way, warning that he won't hold back if Link gets in his way again. Link continues into the temple's final chamber, which holds a sacred spring, one of two where Zelda must purify herself as part of her role in all of this. Zelda has already moved on, but Link does receive the means to access the next spring within the Elden region and continues his pursuit of her. On his way, he encounters the servant of the goddess Girahim spoke of, a stern woman named Impa, who scolds Link for taking too long to reach them and for being generally ill-prepared for the task at hand.
She's really sassy to him.
Yeah. She refuses to let him speak to Zelda when they meet at the heart of the next temple, urging Zelda forward along her own path and telling Link to get good so he can protect her properly. I was like, I'm trying.
I was like, I fucking ran all the way here after her. Yeah. Stop it. Literally every place I went to.
This sets Link toward his next destination, the Gate of Time within the Lanayru region, a place fittingly unsettled in time itself. He reaches it quick enough to satisfy even Impa, arriving just in time to intervene in an attack by Girahim, saving Impa and buying enough time for Zelda to flee through the gate, but not before she passes the sacred goddess harp onto him, telling him he'll need it going forward. Impa runs to follow Zelda, pausing long enough to tell Link to go back to the old woman at the sealed grounds and tell her what has happened, and then destroys the Gate of Time behind them to prevent Girahim from following. Girahim rages for a bit at this, but claims to be in too much of a rush to solve this new problem to properly punish Link, and so leaves him unharmed for now. Heeding Impa's words, Link returns to the sky so that he can travel to the sealed grounds again. His descent this time involves an unexpected passenger, however, as her old buddy Groose, tired of watching Link's mysterious comings and goings while receiving no news on Zelda's whereabouts, has decided to hurl himself bodily after Link toward the surface. They amazingly both manage to land without dying. And then Groose has a minor existential crisis over the surface actually being a real place, and one containing unnaturally tiny birds, no less.
That was like one of my favorite parts of the whole game. It's like, and they're small.
I thought the birds all like him and are like landing on him and
yeah,
his hair.
he's like fucking Snow White.
It's like they run away from me when I try to catch them.
Yeah. I have to use my little net to like get any of just the feathers they leave behind or whatever.
Of course, his usual conceited attitude soon reasserts itself, as he declares that they should call this place Grooseland, and tells Link that he'll take over the Zelda rescuing from here. He naturally doesn't take it well when the old woman at the temple tells him that someone else is fated to bring Zelda back, and he stomps off in a sulky temper as Link talks to the woman to tell her what happened. She tells Link that the harp he now carries is the key to finding Zelda, and teaches him how to play it properly. This summons forth a second, currently dormant Gate of Time, but it also awakens something else. The ground begins to shake as within the spiraling pit outside, the spike at its center which seals a great evil has come loose, and a massive dark beast known as the Imprisoned surges forward from the ground and begins to climb. The old woman sends Link after it, warning that it must not escape the pit and reach the temple. Link is able to fight it back and replace the sealing spike, though the old woman warns that it won't hold for long. Everyone returns to the temple, and the old woman explains that Link and his sword must both grow stronger together before he can awaken the dormant Gate of Time. He must endure difficult trials and forge his blade in the heat of 3 sacred flames within the Faron, Eldin, and Lanayru regions. Witnessing all of this has also brought about a change in Groose, as seeing Link act so heroically while he could do nothing makes him concede that maybe the old woman was right, though she protests that he's selling himself short when he goes on to call himself useless. But either way, he willingly stands aside for Link to continue on his way. After a little investigation above the clouds, Link learns that in order to find the sacred flames, he must first earn 3 sacred relics that will allow him to move forward. There's a lot of sacred things in this game.
There's a lot of, like, you gotta go to this place, like, 3 times in a row, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not 3 times in a row. Over and over again.
They like the number 3 in this game.
I mean, in all Zelda games,
the series likes it a lot, but this one specifically.
Yeah.
Because it's 3 places, and you think you go to all of them 3 times, right? Because you go the first time, then the Sacred Realm, then get the flames.
Yes.
I mean, Silent Realm, not Sacred Realm. I was like, although you get the Triforce from there, so maybe the Silent Realm is the Sacred Realm. But that's an open question.
Yeah.
For later to be discussed.
He does this by passing 3 absolutely terrifying trials in a parallel world known as the Silent Realm, where he must collect tears of light without being murdered by horrible ghost robots. It's not traumatizing at all.
They're like the phantoms from... Aren't they kind of like the phantoms from, what's it called? Phantom Hourglass, but scarier? Like, way scarier.
Yeah, they're definitely reminiscent of them, because they got those little dudes that, like, wake everybody up if they spot you.
They do. And also, they kill you in, like, one swing, and they'll hunt you the fuck down if they see you.
Yeah.
Although the phantoms were all cute, because they were, like, Zelda style. I mean, Wind Waker style. These are like horrifying Skyward Sword style.
Yeah, especially when they're just like pelting after you with their giant swords.
With their scary music.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think it was more traumatizing for us than for Link. I think he was fine.
He seems fine. The whole time he seems fine.
Link, of course, succeeds at each trial and is able to seek out the sacred flames. And after his blade has been purified in all 3, it finally fully awakens as the Master Sword. Link returns quickly to the sealed grounds, but before he can try to open the Gate of Time, the ground begins to shake as the imprisoned breaks free from its seal again. It sports some spiffy new arms to better climb out of the pit this time, but fortunately a bit of self-reflection has given Groose a new sense of purpose in our absence. He's built an entire cannon and rail system, which he has of course named the Groosenator.
That's reasonable this time, though. Like, Groose Land, not reasonable, but Groosenator's definitely reasonable.
To help out by launching bombs at the beast whenever it begins to climb. Working together, Link and Groose manage to drive the imprisoned back again, at least for the moment. With that done, Link returns to the temple to open the Gate of Time and travels to the distant past, the world as it was shortly after the end of the war between Hylia and Demise. Here, Link finally meets with Zelda again, but it's a bittersweet reunion, with emphasis on the bitter. Zelda tells him the story of that ancient war, but with a few new details at its end. After sealing away Demise, Hylia was gravely injured, and she realized that Demise's enormous power would allow him to break through that seal someday. She would not be able to stop him again, and it would mean the end of the world. To prevent this, Hylia put 2 plans into motion. The first was the creation of Phi, the spirit within the sacred sword with the sole purpose of guiding the chosen hero. The second was to give up her divinity so that she could one day be reborn in the body of a mortal. For while the incredible power of the Triforce had been created by the gods, it was made so that a god could never wield it in its entirety, and Hylia knew she would need that power to defeat Demise for good. Link is, of course, the chosen hero, and Zelda is the goddess Hylia reborn. Gasp.
Cosmo didn't gasp.
No. I was too shocked.
You shocked into silence.
Yes.
She knew none of this before praying at the sacred springs, but now the memories of her past life have returned to her. With them came a great sense of purpose and knowledge of what must be done, but also a great sense of guilt, because the goddess, and Zelda in turn, manipulated Link to bring him to this point, knowing he would do whatever was needed if Zelda was in danger. He has overcome all the trials set before him and become a man of great wisdom, power, and courage, worthy of wielding the Triforce and capable of facing Demise. Her guilt over using Link in such a way means Zelda has no qualms about playing her own role here. She must stay behind in the past to maintain the seal-holding Demise, sleeping for thousands of years until he is finally defeated. And though Link rushes to try and stop her, Zelda holds to that, saying a teary farewell before sealing herself in an amber crystal for her long slumber. With nothing else he can do, Link retreats from her frozen form. He allows himself a moment of grief, then gathers his courage and moves forward, back through the gate into the present day. The old woman confirms that even now Zelda still sleeps within the sealed temple, holding the seal on Demise, and she tells Link that the Triforce is believed to be hidden away somewhere on Skyloft, though no one knows any more than that. To discover its location, Link returns to the sky and seeks out an ancient protective spirit known as Levias, who is a giant whale, naturally.
Naturally.
Levias is currently having a little demonic parasite trouble, but Link sorts that out.
Just a little.
Just a little. The Sky Spirit tells him what's needed to find the Triforce, an ancient song known as the Song of the Hero, which will open the way. Levias holds the knowledge of one section of the song, and the 3 dragons living on the surface know the other 3. Link seeks out the dragons and proves his worth to them to earn their parts of the song, then returns to Levias to hear the last. When played on the goddess harp, the Song of the Hero opens the way to another Silent Realm trial. And when Link completes it, he's able to reveal Sky Keep, a dungeon hidden below the goddess statue on Skyloft, which houses the Triforce. Link travels through the dungeon to seek out each piece, then wishes upon the completed Triforce for the destruction of Demise. The gods hear his wish and answer it, sending the piece of Skyloft that holds the great statue plummeting down to the ground, where it falls back into its proper place within the pit of the sealed grounds, crushing the imprisoned beneath as it makes one final attempt to escape its seal. And with that, the Demon King is finally defeated, which means the seal no longer needs to be maintained. Link rushes inside the temple to meet with Zelda as she reawakens from her long slumber. Everybody hugs and celebrates and has a grand old time, until Girahim arrives to crash the party. He's not real thrilled about his master being destroyed, but it's okay because he has a backup plan. Demise may be gone in the present day, but he still lives in the past, and with Zelda's goddess power, he can revive him. He snatches up Zelda and makes his way through the Gate of Time, pursued closely by Link. In the past, Link finds him at the bottom of the pit with Zelda's unconscious form, already in the middle of the ritual to revive his master. He sends hordes of demons after Link to hold him back, then fights him directly when Link cuts through them all to reach the bottom. Link emerges victorious, but unfortunately the ritual was still continuing even as they fought, and Girahim is ready to revive his master. The imprisoned bursts from the ground and begins to absorb energy from Zelda, enough to regain his true form as the Demon King Demise. Link stands firm even in the face of such an impossible adversary, and Demise is a bit impressed. All the humans he knew from the past had been weak and cowardly, but here's one willing to stand against him. He offers Link a one-on-one fight and creates a separate battlefield for their match. Demise is an incredibly powerful foe, but Link matches him blow for blow and finally defeats the Demon King. But Demise has one last curse before he falls, swearing that his hatred will remain eternal, forever pursuing those who carry the blood of the goddess and the spirit of the hero, beginning an endless cycle of violence. But for now there is peace. Fi bids Link to now lay the Master Sword to rest, allowing her to sleep forever within it, her task complete. But first she tells Link how much she treasured their time together, feeling an emotion that must be what humans call happiness. And this isn't the only friend to stay behind, as Impa, being of the ancient past, will also remain behind now that her work is done. She bids an emotional farewell to Zelda, but promises they will meet again. And this comes true immediately after the group return to the present, and the mysterious old woman reveals that she was Impa all along, having waited thousands... Yes, gasp.
I was like, I think that's Impa, and then, like, the very first time you see her. And they're like, I was right. It's like, you shouldn't feel good about this. You shouldn't feel proud of yourself.
Yeah, I didn't realize she had that bracelet from the beginning, though, until I
don't
looked
think
back at
that was
the early
revealed,
footage.
but I thought her braid looked suspiciously similar.
No, you can see her in the early cutscene when she's introduced. She has that purple bracelet on. Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice until I went back to rewatch some of the cutscenes. Anyway, the mysterious old woman reveals that she was Impa all along, having waited thousands of years to continue guiding Link and Zelda, and to meet her friend one final time. Now truly finished with her task and at peace, she fades away. Later, Link and Zelda stand atop the goddess statue, where they once merely played the roles of goddess and hero in a ceremony. Zelda tells Link that she wants to stay and live down here on the surface and watch over the Triforce. She asks Link what he thinks, and Link smiles. And that's the end.
Yay. Also, Groose cried the hardest when Impa faded away. just throwing that out there.
They were BFFs.
Yeah, apparently. Well, they fought off the prison like 3 or 4 times, whatever, many times together, so...
Yeah.
And Groose was just chilling there that whole time, I guess, so I guess they, like, bonded or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, we have our very first Link and Zelda and sort of Ganondorf in this game.
Yeah, my interpretation of Demise is that it's meant he gets reincarnated like Ganon. He has this like long part of his speech where he's like, and I'll be back. Yeah. I'll be reincarnated over and over again. And he also looks like Ganon, Ganondorf, so...
Yeah, the implication is that like his curse like kind of created the sort of reincarnation cycle of Link and Zelda, and Ganondorf keeps coming back with his own hatred keeping him alive.
Yeah, basically. That was my takeaway. But I like that the whole time it's like Girahim for the most part that you fight. He's the antagonist.
Yeah. He's kind of a weirdo, but he is a sword, so...
Did you say he is a sword?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I heard you correctly, because that was what I heard, but I was like, that's funny. And I was like, is that what she said, or did I just, like... Yeah.
Yeah, he's revealed to sort of be, like, the evil counterpart of Fi, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. They're definitely set up as some kind of... they have some kind of dichotomy where their character designs are sort of, like, similar, and their behaviors are similar, but opposite, so... Yeah. I also thought Girahim was, like, a better villain than Zant.
Yes.
Like, they're both kind of, like, randos who want power, but in the end, Zant was just, like, his, all screamy and whatever.
And Zant's goals were kind of, like, small time. Like, he just wanted to rule the Twilight Realm.
I want to be in charge of the Twilight. Girahim was like, I want to rule the world through all time.
Yeah.
It's like, I got a better idea. I'll just go back in time and
Yeah.
do this from the beginning.
We have, first time the goddess Hylia is mentioned. We've always had the 3 golden goddesses, but she seems to be, like, kind of subordinate to the 3 main goddesses. At least that's the impression I get.
Yeah, I think, like, it's like the difference between, like, the Olympians and what are they called? There's, like,
Titans?
the gods before the Greek gods.
Yeah, like the
Like
Titans.
the Titans. That's what it is. Yeah, they're like the Titans, and she's like just a goddess, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the gods created the Triforce, but then couldn't use it themselves or whatever, and they created like the land and whatever in other lore in other Zelda games.
Yeah.
But then Hylia just took it upon herself to like to give up her divinity to be reincarnated as a mortal to be able to control the Triforce or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then she set up all this shit along the way to like set up the sword and like Fi in the sword or Fi in the sword, and then like all the tasks, and then gave the hero song, only parts of the song, to all the dragons. It was all orchestrated to make it challenging for the hero. So by Hylia, that was the implication that I gathered from this.
Yeah. Yeah, she had a lot of plans.
Yeah. She's like, okay, I'm gonna not just send the Triforce up to the sky, not just, but also lay all of these other plans around this to protect the Triforce. I think the Triforce was in Skyloft the whole time.
Yeah.
Exactly where you would expect it, right underneath the goddess statue.
Yeah.
Well, it was protected by the most difficult challenge, a sliding puzzle.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, everybody knows that's true. And then also, it was also like kind of it was hidden in the rock, but it also like expanded. So I think it was sort of like magically compressed. Like you can't get in normally. All those other places in the map that you can visit, you can just walk in the door. That's why there's a bunch of enemies in there by the time you get there.
Yeah, you had to get the songs, play the song, beat the Silent Realm, put the
statue?
stone in the bird statue, and then it would reveal the entrance.
This is what I'm saying. Hylia created a whole bunch of crap around protecting the Triforce, and Girahim had all these plans. It's like, bro, did you even go to the Silent Realm? Like, listen, have you been?
Do you even Silent Realm?
I like that there's like dialogue related to the Silent Realm. There's some dialogue that Fi is like, I won't be able to help you or whatever here. And it's like, yeah, the Silent Realm, nobody can hear you scream. Like, I don't like, and you don't have any equipment. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
When we were talking before we started recording, but I managed to get through the first 3 Silent Realms in the first go, but I had to restart on the very last tier a couple of times on the Skyloft Silent Realm. And like every time you die, you'll have Fi has like a little dialogue where she's like, Master, I'm afraid you failed the test, blah blah, and like every time I'm like, I know, Fi.
Every time she says something, I'm like, I know. It's fine.
Yeah, whenever I'm like losing to an enemy, I hear the little jingle of her like trying to offer advice. I'm like, I don't need your fucking advice.
I remember one time it was
like I know what I'm doing, I just can't do it.
There was one time that Fi went to give advice, and then I clicked on it, and it was like, you should probably refill your hearts. I was like, I fucking know.
Yeah.
I'm glowing right now. Like,
Yeah.
Apparently they toned down. I played the Switch remake of this. I don't think we talked about which versions we've actually played yet, but I played the Switch remake, and apparently they toned down like how much she interacts with you for the remake, I heard, so it didn't bother me that much.
Yeah. It didn't bother me that much. I played the original, but the same thing with Navi. I just didn't press the button.
Yeah, just don't have to interact.
Yeah, and her little chime is less obtrusive than the hey, listen. So,
Yeah.
So it's only when I was already frustrated from dying at something that I'd be like, I know, Fi.
Shut up. At least the one thing that annoyed me about like Navi is like, this door's locked, you can't go in. It's like, I know, I just tried to open it. You don't gotta tell me. This is like the 5th dungeon we've been on. I just accidentally clicked A here. Like, why? You know? I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
So.
I do think some of Fi's stuff is so obvious it becomes hilarious. Like,
Yes.
I sent you a screenshot, but it's like after the big long cutscene where you wish on the Triforce and the statue descends to the ground and crushes the Imprison. It's this big dramatic thing. She's like, Master, I can confirm that the Isle of the Goddesses returned to the surface. I'm like, no shit, Fi, we wrote it down here.
Also, I think she's also like, there's like a 90% chance that the Imprisoned is gone. It's like, or like I've calculated the Imprisoned's been destroyed. It's like, I fucking saw it get crushed. Yeah. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. That was pretty amusing.
Yeah. I did like her little goodbye, though. It was sweet.
I thought it was sweet, too. Just like, I hope we'll be together again. And it's like, oh, I know we will.
Yeah, it is kind of heartwarming to think that it's like, oh, there's a spirit in the sword. It's like always waiting to reunite with its master every time we draw it.
I think it's like, isn't it had been sort of established in other games that the Master Sword like almost has consciousness, like kind of it's waiting.
It's definitely established to have some kind of
There's a connection between
to
Link and the Master
hero,
Sword. Yeah, for sure. So I think this game in general does a good job of tying a bunch of like random elements from other Zelda stories together into like one cohesive origin story, which is really good. Nice.
Yeah, this is like, it's definitely one of the most firmly placed in the timeline and like the most like connected to other games, like explicitly, because there's a lot of people who are like, I guess it goes here, and
this one is like, it's definitely the origin story. This is definitely the origin of the Master Sword. All this was orchestrated by Hylia. Zelda is Hylia. Like, and then like just like mic drop. Like,
Yeah.
While still leaving wiggle room for future games to do things with it, because it's Zelda.
I mean, you can do whatever, because it's also the first one, and like all these other games have come after. And there's like, you know, like Breath of the Wild is like a completely different game. Like the lore is there, but all the other elements of the game are completely different, so it doesn't stop anything.
Yeah. One thing that's kind of interesting is like I feel like the game kind of implies that the goddess's chosen hero that they talk about at the beginning was just like this Link time traveling. But I feel like it could also actually be that she had a chosen hero back then. And there's actually a like prequel manga chapter.
What?
That has like it's in the back of the Hyrule Historia book, so it's semi-official. That has like a separate like chosen hero that was around during Hylia's time during the war.
Did he wear a green cap though, and a green?
He looks
tunic?
pretty Linkish.
Yeah, that's how you know.
It's funny too because I was flipping through the back of my Hyrule Historia to find it, and when I got to the front there, it had a little stop. This is the back of the book. Manga is read the other way.
Wow, what a
throwback!
Like,
nostalgic.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Then we got another form of Impa, one that actually has some personality, which usually doesn't get too much of. Which is fun. I do like the little like that she was the old woman. The whole time.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's also similar to her in like Breath of the Wild as well, because she was there in the past, and then she's there in the present when you're playing as Link too.
I guess it's kind of established. I feel like it's sort of been implied in the back, but it establishes that the Sheikah have really long lifespan.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that is implied by the other games, because Impa's is Impa in the old adult timeline in Ocarina of Time as well? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Or
I'm
not sure if she's there directly, but they talk about her like she has a house in Kakariko.
Yeah.
Well,
she's
one of the sages.
People.
Oh, right. Wait, yeah, she's one of the sages.
Yeah.
Yes, I think she was there up until she went and tried to fight the shadow whatever temple guy.
She went into the well.
Yeah.
Was it the well? No. The graveyard?
Although, I don't know, it seemed like...
I think it came out of the well and took up residence in the shadow temple?
Yeah.
Bongo, I guess.
It hasn't been that long since we played that game, and that game wasn't as complicated as this game, but I already forgot so many
We
things.
played a lot of Zelda games.
Yeah, I don't. They're all. I think I said
Almost all of them, really.
almost all of them. Yeah, almost all of them.
No, we got what, 2 more mainline games?
Yeah,
Not
and
counting Tears of the
not counting
Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom. Next is A Link Between Worlds and Breath of the Wild, and that's it for Tears of the Kingdom, which is technically on our list, but
Yeah, it's just not currently playable
no.
as we speak.
This episode comes out May 1st, and that game comes out May 12th, so it will be very imminently playable when this comes out.
And then we have secret best Zelda character, Groose.
Is it a secret? Although I always talk about how Beetle is like a most important character in every game, and he was in this game. He was there, but I think Groose is the most important character. Obviously,
He's a lot of fun because he starts out as just kind of a stereotypical bully character, but he's turns out to be a good boy.
I was like annoyed by his presence in the beginning of the game because I was just like, I don't want this dynamic in this game. Like this is like a fantasy game. This should be like, like it's a war between good and evil and whatever. And we're starting out a fucking school drama. Like I was sort of annoyed at the beginning, but then I came to love Groose as one should, basically, because he joined the fight and whatever and whatnot. It's the Legend of Groose.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love how Link's not even that bothered by him at the beginning, but then
No.
after they fall down into the surface together, and he's freaking out. Link just pats him on the arm, and explains what's going on.
Link is Link is a good boy. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, he's very expressive in this game, which is always fun.
Still quiet though.
Yeah.
This game, there's been a gradual increase in voice acting in the last couple of games that we played. This game also had substantial voice acting, I would say, compared to the last one. There were a lot more voice actor credits. Probably Phytox the most.
Yeah.
A lot of dialogue.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of... And Girahim has a lot of dialogue, noises also. So, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed Impa even says an actual made up language word to Zelda during one of the cutscenes and stuff when she urges her to go forward through the gate and stuff. I was like, hey, she's
talking.
Yes.
It seems so... I don't know. It's funny, in retrospect, after playing Breath of the Wild, where there's full voice acted cutscenes and stuff, where it's oh, they're talking, and compared to I don't know, Ocarina of Time, where nobody talks, except for oi or whatever. I don't even know if they do that. I
think it was mostly just hey, listen, in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else really.
I don't think anybody else talks. And then the Zora King scooching noises.
Yes.
That's not talking, just to be fair. I might have forgotten the plot, but I'll never forget the Zora King scooching.
As far as the bosses go, I think Girahim's probably the most notable one. You fight him 3 times?
I think 3 times, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Has to be.
And the imprisoned also, right?
Yeah, in the imprisoned you fight 3
I like how
times.
you just cut off his toes.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really what we're attacking in this? The first time. And then his little fingies in the second one. I was like, I feel bad cutting off his toes. That's the only thing. And then you have to hit the spike into his head. But I was like, he just needs his toes to balance? I mean, I shouldn't ask questions because it wasn't that hard of a fight, but it's just really? We're okay? Really? Okay.
Well, you do need toes to balance, so I guess it makes sense.
And he doesn't have arms until the 3rd time, so...
It's kind of fun once you get the cannon involved.
That seemed fun. And it's we talked about a lot of the fights in, what's it called? Spear Tracks, where there's 2 people. Or it wasn't... Maybe it was Phantom Hourglass.
Well, Phantom Hourglass had it, and
Spear Tracks had
they both
Zelda.
had one at least.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
Spirit Tracks had the one with the little Goron dude.
That's what I was thinking of, where you roll around or whatever. So it's kind of it reminded me of that fight, actually. So, yeah.
I think the other boss that stood out to me the most is Koloktos, the terrifying automaton guy with the giant swords. That's a cool fight because you
the whip,
rip off his limbs with the whip, and then take the giant sword to cut the rest of them off.
Yep. Yeah, and you have to pick up his giant sword, which is hilarious, and then chop him up. I mean, and then also the cutscene at the end when he dies is also horrifying too.
Yeah, when does a little children's giggle,
and then stare at you, soulless stare at you. Yeah, it's definitely horrifying. That fight actually reminded me of Breath of the Wild, kind of like the Guardian fights. Because like a lot of them have like multiple limbs and you can like remove them and stuff.
Well, okay, yeah.
I was thinking like the ones that are in the shrines, not like the big ones. But yeah. The major/minor test of strength ones.
Yeah. Most of the enemies are returning, but a lot of them have kind of been rearranged so that they have like specific sword strike you need, where you have to, like, bokoblins and stalfos will like hold up their weapons to block from certain angles.
Yeah, those bastards. Then what?
Yeah. And you got like the dekubabas that open their mouth in one direction or the other, and you have to slice along that.
Yep.
And then there were the terrifying guardians in the Silent Realm.
You can't fight them though, so
No.
they are terrifying and they are guardians. The big tall one's design is kind of similar to the Dark Nuts from Wind Waker, I thought. With a more horrifying face instead of a little Anubis face.
Yeah, especially the way they like hold their swords when they're inactive.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Dark Nuts throughout the series.
Yeah, they just
will
wait
stand
for you.
like that before you approach them.
Horrifyingly, yeah. Exactly.
And I don't know, the floaty guys were just spooky. I don't know.
They were spooky. There's like Tantalus or whatever. It
Yeah.
reminded me of Bellum with all the tentacles. Pretty similar.
Yeah. It was silly looking, but I really liked that fight. It was fun.
Yeah.
That whole level had a lot of atmosphere where you're in the
Yeah, that
pirate
was
ship.
really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good parts
Yeah,
of the
that
game.
was a good one.
I think everything in Lanayru was really top
I
notch.
love the time
Yes.
flipping.
Time shifts,
yes.
yeah.
It like, and I was like, this is dumb the first time that I went up to turn. It's like, oh, you should turn on the time shifting to go back in time. And it's like, whatever. And then I was like, this is pretty rad. And like the way that you like, they're on like objects, like they're on mine carts and you have to like follow them or whatever, like all that kind of stuff. That was actually really cool.
Yeah. I just love the way it changes the like
And the
color
color.
and music and the
Yes.
world. Yeah.
Yes. I like that you can push enemies outside of it and they just turn into bones too. Did
Yeah.
you do that? I definitely did that and it was great. I was like, ha ha ha, joke's on you. I'm in the past and you're in the future. I thought that was fantastic and I longed to do it more, but I wasn't able most times.
Yeah. This is sort of a seamless segue to, I don't know, either mechanics or visuals, whatever's next.
Yeah.
Mechanics generally.
Let's do
so-
mechanics. Talk about the
Okay.
Wii Motion Plus all over the place in this game.
Yeah, so this game used the Wii Motion Plus, which was an updated. Well, I think there was either an attachment you put onto your old Wiimotes, or they made updated Wiimotes with it
Yeah.
already in integrated.
Yeah.
And it just has much more precise reading of the position of your Wiimote. So you could be more exact in how you're positioning it, which ways you're moving it, and things like that. You use that and the nunchuck to the Wiimote itself to control the sword generally, and the nunchuck I think was used for the
For the shield attack?
shield. Yeah,
And to run around, right?
Yeah. And then they re-released the game for the Switch, and the Switch Joy-Cons have the motion controls as well.
Yeah.
So you can play it the same way, or you can use the Pro Controller, or I think just the Joy-Cons without
Yeah,
motion
you can
controls.
turn the motion control off, which is really whack. At least in my opinion, because I tried it. Because I was like, I don't know if I'm tired of swinging my arms around, flailing constantly while playing this game. What are the on motion controls like? And they're very strange. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, Cosm.
Yeah, well, because that's how I played it. Is
interesting.
I used the Pro Controller.
I struggled. I was like, absolutely not happening.
With that, you used the C stick to control which direction the sword would be pointing.
Yeah, do you like flick the stick or you just like wiggle it back and forth? Like,
Yeah, I mean, if you do, like, if the stick is neutral and you just slash down, Link will go from up to down. So you don't have to start up and then go down necessarily to do a full slash. But for certain things, like the Girahim fights, where you have to, like, hold your sword to the right, you'd have to, move the stick there, and then go from left to right.
yeah, if you
in order
hold
to get him.
if you want to hold the sword in a certain position, you have to hold the stick. So like to do like the Skyward Strike, you have to hold the stick up, like you point it up,
Yes.
for example. It was an interesting adaptation, though. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I it took me a little bit to get used to, but by the end of it, it was fine. I think it worked well.
Yeah, I played the Wii version, like I said, and so like even just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know how you would adapt this, because it's like there are a lot of games around, especially the early Wii development cycle, where it was like this didn't need to be motion controls, but like they kind of were really designed to be motion controls for this one.
Yeah,
so it's like you can't just like take it away and put a button prompt. You have to do some interesting stuff with it. So
No, and you have to be
it's like Twilight Sword, Twilight Princess was. Like easy to transfer back to button controls because it was originally made for button controls.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but like there's like specific, like you already talked about some of the enemies and stuff, but they're often like the mechanic that you have to do is a specific motion of the sword. It's not just like swing your sword. Like in Twilight Princess, you can just like wiggle the Wii remote all around. Like there's no delicately turn this key. Or you have to jab.
Or hit these buttons from the right direction in the right order to unlock this door.
Exactly. Kind of exactly. So like a lot of the mechanics depend on you doing something very specific. So I think it does translate to the buttons well. I just found it was too I'm not coordinated enough for it. Maybe I could learn it. But it was like it was easier to it was definitely I think more intuitive to like swing the sword around, which I think was their whole point. But yeah, so if you haven't played this game or whatever, and because you don't want to use the motion controls or you can't, there's an adaptation. There's a way to not use motion controls for the Switch version. So try it. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It's very different than other Zelda games though, where you can just like spam B for the sword. Like you have to actually like move your thumb and think about it. Oh yeah, and Cosm, the other thing is like the same joystick is used for the camera. So there's like you have to hold a button and then move the stick to use the camera, which I was not on board with. But I'm really picky about the camera in my game. So
yeah, although I think even with the Joy-Cons, like you could only change the camera controls during certain times. Like you couldn't run and adjust the camera, which. It's very strange. I don't know if that was...
The Wii version doesn't really have camera controls.
I thought it was fixed, kind of.
You can center it behind yourself, but otherwise it mostly... Like, it does a pretty good job of keeping up with you.
Looks like Ocarina of Time.
You can, like, center it behind yourself to, like, make precise jumps and stuff, but...
Yeah. I don't know. It's just the way that I play games is that I just like to spin the camera around like a crazy person. Yeah. So...
It's definitely kind of hard to go back to things that don't have camera controls just because they're... tend to be so like well integrated nowadays. Where you just kind of move the camera second nature with your left thumb.
Yeah, like you move like I move both at the same time, surely. Like and without even thinking about it. And then in games we've played some that have fixed or relatively fixed, like all the N64 ones, like there's no free camera, right? So like you can I think you can use the C buttons like to adjust it sort of, but I think it was pretty locked. So
yeah,
and you can look around, like you can transition into a view where you can like look through Link's perspective or whatever. But
yeah.
Oh, so for gameplay, this game has so a new mechanic is the Skyward Strike. You hold your sword straight up and you charge the sword, and it shoots at a beam, similar to how in a lot of the 2D games, if you're at full health, you can shoot a beam from your sword. Similar sort of thing, but the implementation's a bit different in how you do it. And this game has stamina. So you have to manage your running, certain jumping, rolling, spin attacks, all of that to make sure you don't run out or you're sort of exhausted and can't really move or do a whole lot of
you sink into the quicksand and die.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
you sink into the quicksand and die. Also it turns into your like water meter when you swim.
It's a different,
or your air,
different meter. It's the same mechanic, but if you enter the water with like lower than full stamina, I don't think your water is down.
I don't know. I didn't try, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can go underwater, and you have a meter that drains. That's your breath, and you start taking health rather than just instantly drowning or voiding out or anything like that.
That's good.
Yeah, so you lose health pretty fast, but it's not like an instant death if you just barely mistimed your...
So you're saying it's not like Super Mario 64, where you just drown constantly? Yeah, okay.
That's because your health was your air
In Super Mario 64, yes.
You could heal by just jumping into water.
That's true. I forgot about that. As soon as it's transitioned to a thing where it's like, now you can dive, and then you have to do all the stuff where you have to just swim through the bubbles, I was like, can't decide if I'm excited or terrified.
Yeah.
Because I hate swimming in video games because I'm a wuss.
Weirdly, the motion controls were pretty naturalistic for the swimming. Like, I found it pretty easy to navigate with them.
Are you saying it was better than Majora's Mask?
It was definitely better than Majora's Mask.
I was like, oh, they brought back the spin attack underwater, and then I had like flashbacks to swimming in Majora's Mask.
Yes, I mean, I didn't mind swimming too much. It was satisfying. The dash spin thing was fun. Dolphining up. That was always nice.
Is that what it's technically called?
I don't know.
We all knew what you were talking about.
There's
so.
In like Call of Duty, I think, or there's the dolphin jump where you go from lying prone to crouch to jump, and that's how people would move. And I don't remember if that's just to really like make it difficult to aim for you since your head's just constantly moving up and down or something, or I don't remember why. I never actually played those games, but a friend of mine was telling me about how that was like just what you would do as you're trying to go around.
Thing to do.
Yeah. So
to avoid getting hit. That's funny.
You can jump.
Yeah.
While you're running, you can jump, which normally is reserved for just when you're running off a cliff, you'll jump. But now you can control it and choose to jump on your own.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I guess that is true. Usually the only thing you can do while rolling is while running is roll.
Yeah. The next biggest change is your mount. You now have a Skyloft, a giant bird that you can fly.
Loftwing.
And Loftwing, that's what I meant. Oh my goodness.
You're right, the entire island is Skyloft.
I mean, that's technically true.
Yes, you can fly on a Loftwing. You can, with the motion controls, you can flick the motion to flap your wings. I don't know how you dash, but you can dash.
There's a button.
Yeah,
Okay, it's a button. Okay. And then do you use the motion control to tilt? To turn and
you tilt up and down.
Angle.
You don't have to press anything to flap. So like you can dive and then you use the motion controls to go up and down to like kind of increase your speed.
Yeah. Well, going up you can only do a little bit and then it'll start kind of flapping in place. You have to do the big wing flaps to really gain any height.
Yeah. And then at some point your dash upgrades to a spinny dash attack.
You have an attack bird.
Yes.
They are based off of shoebill storks in real life, so that's fitting.
Horrifying bird. The Loftwings are cuter.
Yeah, they're not very exaggerated. They're very similar to what shoebills look like in real life. You look at the Loftwing, if you've never seen a shoebill, and you're like, that's a cartoon bird. But then you look at the real shoebill, and you're like, oh, that's exactly the same bird.
Yes.
I think they added a little curly tail, and that's about it. And made them bright colors.
Yeah, like a little Shiba Inu tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like whatever rando colors and like a real shoebill stork. But yeah, they definitely look like that. But
yeah,
I don't think people can ride shoebill storks? Question mark.
No.
Probably not.
They're
physically, I'm certain not, but I don't think you could get close enough that you would want to.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to like attach a baby to it, tape it to a.
It's like this, like the whole like stork fairy tale or whatever. They meant shoebill stork, not like any other type of stork.
Yeah. They're very neat but uncanny birds in real life. They kind of move like a dinosaur animatronic. Like,
yeah, you should all pause the podcast if you don't know what we're talking about. Pause the podcast, Google shoebill stork, and watch a video, and then come back and tell us. And then come back to this conversation.
Yeah.
Cosmo, are you Googling it?
Yes.
You don't know what we're talking about?
I've seen pictures. I haven't seen. I don't know.
You never seen a video?
I don't think I've seen a video.
Get ready, my friend. Mentally prepare yourself for what you're about to see.
Oh my god! What the fuck?
It's the reaction that I wanted, but not the reaction that I expected.
It was like moonwalking backwards. Like,
yeah, they're weird as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, birds have kind of a weird ability to move in general, but these are particularly uncanny.
Yeah, they have like a very deliberate way of moving.
Kind of reminds me of a lizard.
Oh my god.
Really.
It's so weird.
Now I feel like your whole outlook on Loftwings is going to be different now. No, in the game they're all cute and like nuzzly. They're basically like horses but birds or whatever, right? Like people are like, "Oh, my Loftwing, I give you pets," which is like not what a stork would be like.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't think they're violent in real life. They're just uncanny.
No, I think they're just.
Okay.
I think they're just
kind of
big
chill
birds.
out and do stork things, eat fish.
Yeah, yeah. Just live their storky lives, you know. Anyway, sorry, you're talking about Zelda birds?
So the
Down in the
last
corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you fly around, you go places with them.
Yes. The last bit of about the Loftwings I do want to say is if you tilt downwards at an angle, you start like diving down and you gain a lot of speed. And if you pay attention to your Loftwing's feet, it like moves in weird circular patterns that I find really cute. So I just wanted to shout out to that. While you're flying or elsewhere in the game, you can dive. And you can sort of free fall or go head first to gain some speed. And you have a sailcloth that you use as a parachute to make sure you don't hurt yourself.
Just don't splat on the
Or
ground.
you can just not press that button and just let Link faceplant every time
That
you land.
too, yes.
Yeah.
Which is always fun.
Except for when the game forces you to bring your sailcloth out.
Yeah, it'll make you do
like
it if
you
you're
need
falling like deathly heights. But if whenever I'm like hopping off onto just one of those little islands, I always just let him faceplant because it's really
Yeah, and I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I also did that. It's like, oh, we're like a foot off the ground. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And he's like,
because he jumps
splats
off in the
on the
same
ground.
like spread eagle dramatic dive, no matter how high up you are, and so he
Right,
just, like,
right.
go like. Poof.
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty funny.
We've got items. We have
The beetle,
The beetle.
the greatest
Yeah,
item
yeah.
ever.
the beetle.
I love the beetle.
It is a drone, essentially,
beetle.
that you can use.
Yeah, it's a drone.
You can use it to fly, maneuver, and hit things that are out of direct reach from, like, arrows or slingshots or anything like that. Eventually, you upgrade it to a hook beetle, which can pick up things, especially items like hearts and, refills on stuff.
Bombs.
Bombs.
Yeah.
Or some enemies you're meant to grab and transport them to a place that what I'm thinking of specifically, there are these little
shocky dudes.
little shocky bugs.
Oh.
that are
Yeah,
shells. Yeah.
You can scare enemies with it too. You can scare the like big things. I don't know what they're called. Goblin, something.
Moblins? That sounds right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
What
the
are
ones-
they?
The big ones with the shields, you mean?
That's moblins. What are the little ones?
Bokoblins.
Bokoblins. Yeah, okay. I was like, I know they're the same name as all the other enemies, but they have a different design in this game per usual. Yeah, you can scare them with the beetle, which is hilarious. I made some of them run off of the edges of cliffs of things, so I didn't have to fight them, which was great. This is my pro tip.
Yeah, and you can use them to make the ones that are throwing boulders at you drop a boulder on their head. So.
You can do a lot of things with the beetle, which is why it's the best item.
And then you have the digging mitts, which you can use kind of like shovels in a lot of the 2D games. And then when you upgrade them to the magma mitts, you go underground and into this sort of like 2D crawling space where, you can do a few things here and there. The whip is another newish item. It functions similarly to the grappling hook, but it also stuns things, and you can use it to latch onto like levers and pull them and such like that.
Wasn't there a whip in is it Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks?
Yes, yeah, that's true.
The
You
snake
do.
whip.
That's right. And then the gust bellows is new to 3D, but it's similar
Yeah.
to something you've used in other 2D games as well. I think also Spirit Tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that little pinwheel thing.
Yeah.
Oh right, the pinwheel.
Yeah.
There was also the gust jar in another earlier game too.
Yes.
And the design of this is similar to the gust jar, but the
Yes.
function is similar to the thing you blow into the microphone for. I can't remember what it's called.
So, yeah, most of these items are returns or reimaginings of 2D items.
Yeah.
Items that have shown up in 2D games. So you've got the arrows and bombs, as always. nuts to catch bugs and fairies,
Right.
claw shots, which return from Twilight Princess, and the slingshot. And that's about it. So a very limited selection of items. Oh, I didn't talk about how you select items. You can only have one item equipped while you're playing, and you press a button to bring up a wheel.
Like a wheel.
Yeah, and you use the motion controls, or at least with the Pro Controller, I was able to... Oh, yeah, that's how it works. So there's
Right.
eight of them. So for the motion controls, you press like ZR, and then if you press... Oh, goodness, let me see. Is it A, B, X, Y? If you press Y, that would select the far right one, and X would be up, A is right, and B is down. And then if you press like YB, that will be the one in the corner, so the bottom left. Yeah.
So they don't make you point with the stick? Doesn't the stick
You can do that.
Oh, you can also hit
but you could
buttons, what you're
also
saying.
hit the buttons to do it, which I found out, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I completely forgot about it and never used it again. But yeah, it was neat. And then you also have an item pouch, which holds various different things, your shields especially, which have durability. Forgot to bring that up. They have durability, so they can break, and you may need to have multiple shields in your item pouch if you are afraid of them breaking. You can also, in your item pouch, fit additional bags for your seeds, for the slingshot, your quivers, or bomb bags. Yep. And there's medals that you can carry that do different things. Some give you extra health. Some make health more likely to be found. Same for rubies. Some tell you where bugs will be on the map.
Bug medal.
Yeah. Your bottles, which also take your pouch slot.
Yeah.
So you can have up to 8 throughout the game. So you're kind of limited in how much you can carry. I feel like that is a big part of your playthrough is item management in that regard. And I feel like it's going to be very different per person, sort of what they like to go.
That's probably true. There's also like the place in the bazaar where you can like store your items and stuff too. So that's also part of the game.
So if you have extra, you can have them stockpiled in the bazaar and go back to them if you need.
Make the item check girl fall in love with you.
Yeah, so you've got treasures and bugs. Treasures you typically get from killing enemies or just finding them in the on the surface. I think. Are there any you find in Skyloft? Doesn't seem like it from this list that I have.
Some of the you find them in like dungeons and stuff too, just like chilling.
Some bugs you find in Skyloft.
Yeah.
But the treasures you find in on the surface in dungeons or in the Silent Realm, there's some such like that. You use them to upgrade your weapons, your shields, especially, but also your bow, slingshot, your bags. I think you can upgrade your bomb bags to be bigger. The beetle, So they give different upgrades.
I think you can upgrade potions. If you have the right materials too.
That's true. Yeah, I don't think I ever got a potion, so I forgot
got
about
one.
Yeah, you use,
and upgraded it.
Use bugs for the potions, I think, and then the
That's
treasures
right,
for the crafting.
Yes,
that makes sense.
So some things like I think the slingshot you can upgrade to a 3-shot slingshot, which is similar to an upgrade, at least in I think it was Oracle of Seasons. Was that the one that had the slingshot? It would upgrade to one that shot 3. I think you just increase the power of the bow. It had a description that
I think it's like you hold it and you can do like a more powerful shot.
Yeah.
And the beetle, I think you can increase the speed.
Yeah, it's just power and range for and you can increase the speed, and you give it a little button where you could press it and it makes it go faster. Oh, money in this game. So, funny story, for both Spirit Tracks and this game, the first time I entered a shop to spend money, I had exactly 99 rupees. So I was like, oh, interesting. I guess that's the limit. That's a low limit. I can't wait to get my next wallet. And then, so I spent my money thinking I had the max because I was just at 99, and at least in Ocarina of Time, that's your max. I think, like in some games, you start off with 99 being your initial max. Turns out you have more. I think it's 300.
I think it's 200 or 300. Yeah.
Yeah. But yes, you can get bigger wallets. I think it gets if you get all the wallets, you can hold 9,999 rupees.
I think so. I never had that many, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you can like upgrade your main wallet and then get a couple of tiny wallets also.
oh,
Yeah. Keys. Normally not something I would really talk about, but for all the boss keys, they are like a little insert puzzle. They're these unique shapes, and they fit in a hole in the wall that you use generally the motion controls to angle them just right. You insert them, and it opens the door, which is a neat little mechanic. It's kind of fun. It definitely gives the keys a little more flavor. Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
And then next is gratitude crystals, which are, for the most part, side quests in this game give you these gratitude crystals. Where the first one you have to meet Betro.
Oh yeah, right. The demon guy.
Yes, who was a friendly demon that one of the village kids was playing with, and end up meeting him, and he wants gratitude crystals to turn human again. So there's some that you find by just wandering through the Skyloft and adjacent islands at night. So it would be, I think that's Pumpkin, the Lumpy Pumpkin, and Beetle's House Island. Those are the only ones you can go to at night, because you can't fly at night. And then the rest are from completing side quests, such as getting the storage lady to fall in love with you, or to break her heart, either way. Or rescuing someone who's abandoned on an island because their Loftwing is injured.
And they look like those little candies that the star bits in Super Mario Galaxy are also based on.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
Really
you
called,
mean like Competto or whatever?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, like the candy from Spirited Away that she gives that they give to the soot sprites. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Those are yummy.
It's just sugar. What
I
could
know.
possibly be bad about it?
Something about their size and their crunch make them yummier than just regular sugar.
They're fun. They're cute. I don't think they're not flavored, right? Like they're just sugar, aren't they? Maybe
I think
they
they
are
can be
slightly
flavored. But I
flavored.
think they're mostly just sugar.
I've definitely eaten them, but I don't. I don't remember.
I usually buy a
charming.
pack when I see them in like the little
You're like, ooh,
foreign candy section of a store.
ooh, Competto, ooh, yum. It's probably exactly what you say, right? I mean,
Basically.
Yeah. Some more gameplay mechanics. There are 3 more. One is mixed between gameplay and items. So a lot of the heart pieces, which you used to get through side quests, are now on islands in the sky that you unlock by finding a corresponding cube on the surface that you hit with a Skyward Strike. So yeah, you find them periodically through your surface travels, you unlock them, and then find them on the island, and you'll get a variety of different items, sometimes rupees, sometimes a piece of heart, sometimes pouch items like medals or maybe a bag for your seeds. The next is dowsing, which is an ability Fi gives you. You can select a thing. There's usually 1 slot for your side quest, 1 slot for your current main quest, and then there's a bunch for like treasures and bugs and things like that you can start searching for. Basically, you enter first person mode, and it will tell you if you are looking in the general direction of the thing that you're looking for.
yeah, it gets like more louder, and I think it vibrates or whatever. when
Yeah,
you're
and I think there's a
pointing at the
little
thing.
purple like
Yeah, it glows stronger.
glows, yeah. And then the last is Scrapper, is a friendly little robot that you get
It's
about
friendly to Fi.
I was going to say friendly is exaggerating it, maybe.
Well, he has a clever nickname for you, which is Master Short Pants. I don't see what could possibly be rude about that.
Yeah.
But my pants are long.
Yeah.
Like, your nickname is incorrect.
Tucked into
extra
my boots
long.
and everything.
But yes, you can find large items throughout, and Scrapper will come pick them up and deliver them for you to wherever they belong, or whomever they
And then
belong.
he's all sassy when you have to move that, like, the water
Mm-hmm.
through the volcano. It's
Yeah.
like rude. I'm just trying to be a hero, okay?
There is a new little tidbit of that I wanted to go over with the gameplay as well, which is the hints. Because I know, like, in Majora's Mask, the remake, there was a new spot that was added where you could go in and it gives you hints on, I think, like, where heart pieces are, where masks are, or where maybe what you're supposed to do. I don't remember exactly all of it, but they had, like, a way to help you complete the game.
Yeah.
And so in this game, you can talk to Fi, and she will tell you what your main objective is. She will also talk about some rumors that are around, if you ask for a hint, an advice. And then in the bazaar, there's a fortune lady who will tell you about what sort of treasures are around.
Yeah, there's, like, one scene where you're, like, forced to go to the fortune teller for direction. Oh, speedruns. Speedrun time.
Yes. So, I watched 2 speedruns, both by Gymnast86. I watched one that was a Games Done Quick, which was... Actually, both of these were within the past 4 months. I think the Games Done Quick was back in January, and I watched a world record attempt back in... It was 4 months ago, but I thought he said something about Thanksgiving, which would have been more than 4 months ago. But about 4 months ago. If you're going to speedrun any category, hero mode is just the fastest. You take double damage, and I think in the Wii version you're able to skip cutscenes, where in the HD version I think you can do it either way. So for the Wii version especially, that saves you a lot of time. Now in hero mode, one of the other big things is your Skyward Strike is upgraded to the Master Sword Skyward Strike, which travels further and deals full damage. Which means right off the bat, the moment you get your Goddess Sword...
You can just explode enemies.
You can explode enemies.
At least the low power ones.
Yeah. And so that speeds up a lot of the time. And there's a couple other tricks where being able to Skyward Strike from an extended range allows you to skip some things or just do things faster. But it starts off just good optimal movement, with a stamina bar. The last quarter, as you're running low, it starts beeping, it flashes red, and you use stamina at half the rate.
Oh.
So if you have 1 pixel above a quarter, you roll or do a spin attack, it'll use the full, however much it normally takes. But if you're below that, it'll use half. So the fastest way to run is to roll when you can, if you're going to have leftover stamina. Otherwise, you run, and then once you reach almost empty, you fill up to a quarter and sprint and use up that quarter. So a lot of movement in the beginning. And the first trick is really in the Lost Wing tutorial. There's a point where Zelda talks, and then it tells you how to do the controls. If, as you close Zelda's last dialogue box before the controls, if you do a flap, the game will kind of freak out and just progress through it without you really having to do the controls that it tells you to do. Sometimes it looks like it's working, and then it doesn't work, and then you actually do need to do the things. It's a bit weird. But if you do it right, it'll save you about 10 seconds, which is kind of big. Another interesting fact is entering the loading zone retains your speed. So if you go through a cave
Really?
entrance and you roll, you're going to come out coming at that speed. Unintuitively, the fastest way is to be not moving when you enter a loading zone. So you can do that by either jumping into it, because your movement is going to be 0 when you land, or by using the first-person mode, you stop moving. And if you do that when you load into a zone, you end up able to control Link before the screen really even fully brightens up and you see everything. For that reason, you're able to go faster. Another interesting thing is the diving zones. So if you dive off a platform at an angle and move yourself and make sure you wait to call your Loftwing, the Loftwing will pick you up and dash you forward, and that might put you into another zone where it's like, oh, you're here, so that clearly means you jumped off of this platform instead. So you're able to move and end up in a better position if you do it that way. It's neat. A little trick that saves you a little bit of time. The first really crazy thing is called the extended blow. When you knock an enemy down, usually like through a spin attack, or if you hit them like 3 times, they'll like be launched back. They travel a set distance and then a random 1 to 40 units beyond that.
So you're saying they can randomly be far.
And so you can't do this consistently because this requires you to knock an enemy at exact distance. If you knock an enemy to the point where they land like about halfway off a ledge into a void zone, but they're on enough that they don't actually like tip over and go all the way in, the game thinks that they're about to void out, so it starts the blow up animation where they explode and turn into a puff of smoke. But you can still target them, and you can still do the finishing blow on them, the little jump attack.
In the void?
Well, they're on the ledge still, so they haven't actually fallen in. The game is expecting them to, so it's already in the process of killing them because they're like, oh, they're gonna go in the void. Okay, let me. And so it's like deleting them, but they're also still there for you to target, and you can do that. Because the game thinks that they're in the void, it doesn't have a position for you to jump into. It doesn't know where they are correctly, or that information is corrupted or something about it. So the game's like, I don't know where to put you. Let me put you at 0, 0, 0, right? 0x, 0y, 0z. Which for the map in the Deep Woods is just right next to the temple. So it skips. So you can do this, like, you get into Deep Woods, you stun one enemy, and then you get to the second enemy, and you can do this to them. And
so it'll just like warp you over right next to the temple.
It skips the whole
part
descent
where you have to climb and okay.
Yep. So that's the only place that it's used currently, at least in the runs that I saw. But it's a neat trick, and if it works, it saves you a bunch of time. If it doesn't work, it's not that bad because there's another skip that you can do that's not as efficient, but it still skips quite a bit. And that is the Goddess Cube skip. So because you're in hero mode and you have the extended Skyward Strike, there's the first hero, the Goddess Cube that you encounter, where you're talking to the Goron and he's like, hey, it's one of these things, and he has you strike it, and he's like, oh, look at that, you're cool. I look up to you so much. So if you are on the level below it, which normally you have to go around, climb some vines, do some tight ropes, but there's an enemy that you can aggro, and if you Skyward Strike while you're Z-targeting that enemy, you'll shoot it at an angle, and you'll end up hitting that Goddess Cube, which will start the cutscene to talk to the Goron. So then the game's like, oh, well, you're up here, you need to talk to the Goron. So it skips that whole section because you did that. So that's a neat little trick. Otherwise, there's again, most of the temple was just good movements and fighting, and just good gameplay and execution. Nothing really crazy breaking or anything like that, no glitches. And then when you get to Eldin, during the key hunt, where you have to dig to find the key to the temple, you can find the first 3 just fine the normal way. And then you aggro some bokoblins and lead them up like some stairs into an area that I think like a lookout area. And you can start climbing the wall, and the bokoblin will hit you to give you just the boost to get on top. And now you're on a wall that you're not really supposed to be on, and you can just skip through a huge part to the area where you have to slide down and then take some gust geysers up to grab a key, or in the Silent Realm, I think there's a fruit there. And there's a couple other things like that. You can skip the gate to the Farron dragon, there's a fence that you can just sort of hop on, and then you can make your way up to the ledge, which takes you all the way to the back entrance that you usually unlock after going through the lake into the Farron dragon. When fighting
imprisoned,
right?
imprisoned, yeah.
Yes. Instead of destroying its tooth-like toes, you can just go up to the level above it and jump onto his head while he's walking, and just strike the statue, into his head. So you can do that for all the fights with him instead of doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I read that you could do that, but I didn't want to try it.
So, when you're getting the songs for the hero song,
yeah, the parts of the
parts of the hero song.
Yes.
If you save Lanayru, he then gives you a boss rush mode where you can fight a boss. And one of the fights he lets you do is Girahim, the final fight with him. So you skip the other dragons and you just this dragon, and then you fight Girahim, and what happens is you do the saving in the mini game to trick the game into thinking that you are in the real fight at the end. Because you save and quit, and it loads back in, and it's like, oh, you're here. And you have to then get clipped inbounds and then back out of bounds to get the game back to where you can knock him off, and the platforms are in the right position. Because they spawn on the floor, so you can't knock him off of anything. So you can't beat him. So you clip back into the ring to clip back out for some reason, and then you hookshot your way up to the top, and then you skip the forest that is underwater now.
Yeah, that would save you a lot of time.
And you skip the getting all your items back when you're in Elden Volcano.
Right.
Because you just do this part instead. So that is more or less it for the HD one. There might be a few other things that I might talk about that I have already written in my other one, but you have to do some pre-game setup before you even start your speedrun.
For the Wii version?
For the Wii version. So you have a save file 1, a save file 2. Those are both hero modes. And save file 3 is a normal mode.
What was the other game that used
Twilight
3?
Princess
Twilight
did that.
Princess?
And
okay.
it's the same concept. It's the same. It's called Back in Time, where if you die and you hit the reset button the same frame you hit the continue button, the game spawns you in the title screen and you can play in the title screen. And so you can do things while you load aspects of certain files without loading the file itself. So something that's important to note is the game has flags, right? For just basically have certain events been activated, and those determine certain things that you can do. So, for example, you can't dive and call your Skyloft until you've Skyloft until
Loftwing.
Loftwing. That's right. You can't call your Loftwing until you've saved it.
Right.
And so some things are called story flags because they're needed through different maps. So others are called scene flags because you only really need it while you're in Skyloft or Farron Woods or something like that. Mm-hmm. So the scene flags, the ones that are specific to a certain map, are all the same address in your RAM or something like that. So it saves that those values, and then it'll load the new ones when you load the map. But while you're Back in Time, you can set the flags of your current map and save it so that when you load your new map, it'll load the ones that you're using from your Back in Time. So you do a bunch of different things, like you talk to Fledge and Instructor Howl, because that sets a certain scene flag that you're going to use that on your file that you're going to use an hour and a half later to load onto, and then when you load your game, because you had those specific things done, your game is going to then think that you've opened the door to the temple, or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is you go someplace, you save, you die, you go back in time, you do some random task on Skyloft, and then you go back, and now certain triggers that the game thinks you've done certain things that you haven't done, and stuff like that. The setup is crazy because also in Back in Time, there's only one way you can fly on your Loftwing, and that is in the tutorial, the Loftwing tutorial, because it is a reduced map. So otherwise, it's just too much, and the game crashes. Another thing is, while you're in this mode, you can go to different areas. So sometimes you are on the title screen, and you fly all the way to Farron Woods, and you're down in Farron Woods, and you then go someplace to do something to set some sort of trigger, and then you load back in to your main game. I think I said something about can we just agree that nerds just have too much time? Leave it at that. But yeah, so stuff like
that was some
that.
of all speedruns, though, basically, because...
Yeah, but this one, because you're manipulating different, specific, literally it's just a single 1 or a single 0 in the code that you want, and you're applying them on top of each other, because, you need to do them in a certain order to make sure the game doesn't crash, to make sure that all these different flags are going on, so that way, while you're playing... you're going down to Farron Woods while you're in the title screen. You need certain conditions to be met, so you fake load a game. I think if you load a game while you're in the middle of a transition, it'll load the values, but it'll keep you loading in that same map, and you're still on the title screen. I think it's something like that. So you're basically playing two games. You're playing the title screen, navigating that, making sure you don't incorrectly select a file,
right,
or things like that, and then you're playing the actual game itself, starting in the title screen. But yeah, so you can do that to in Skyview Temple, you just skip the temple because you change your XYZ value to be down all the way where the beetle is, so you just immediately pick up the beetle and stuff like that. So it's crazy. A lot of shit is going on. You delete your files sometimes, and you make new ones, you corrupt it, and then you actually play it, and Twilight Princess Back in Time was understandable. There were parts of it that I didn't fully get, but I was like, okay, I get it was manageable. I was able to explain it, I think, well enough.
Yeah.
This is I think the 50% of the gameplay is you going back in time. So it's interesting. It's a lot. It's hard to explain, but it's really cool to see. So I'd recommend, if you do have any interest, going to watch it, even if it hurts your head a bit and you don't fully understand it. Some of the things are just really cool.
Well, I feel like it's always fun to play a corrupted game. Isn't that why everybody did the no missing number glitch and stuff in Pokemon? Everybody likes that.
So it's corrupted in that all the values are 0, so it's a very brand new start.
But you're playing in the start screen.
That too, yes.
You're not supposed to play in the start screen.
That is very cool. You're right.
Yeah.
You can't, when you're playing on the title screen, some things you can't start selecting a file. So if you press A, where the file menu comes up and you're file 1, 2, or 3, that you can't have that open. And if you don't do anything long enough, it'll be the lore cutscene of the goddess, raised the islands, and what happens if you stay on the title screen too long. But thankfully for the Wii Motion Plus controls, you can press that button, and then when you press A to close it, you can press A in the game as well to open a door or whatever you need. And that also keeps you from being on that title screen for too long and just loading the cutscene. So yes, that is the short and best I can do on the speedrun. Because again, it's crazy. Lots of shit going on. It's definitely worth a watch again, just to sort of see how you do this seemingly inconsequential thing, and you spend a bunch of time doing it, and it just saves you even more time because tricks the game in some way. Yeah.
What were the times?
Okay, so let's start with the Wii. That came first. Any percent is 1 hour 9 minutes.
1 hour.
37 seconds. Well, this is with you
2
freaking the
hours.
game out.
Yeah.
No, it's 1 hour and 9 minutes.
Oh, 1 hour 9 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
An hour.
Trick the game into thinking that like, oh, you've already opened the door. Oh, another thing. So, this run was done by Games Done Quick, and so they have donations to charity. I think it's the Beat Cancer Foundation or something like that, and they have incentives. So he actually fought Demise blindfolded, and he also fought Tantalus blindfolded.
Wow.
And that was very interesting because you get to the part where you're in the ship and all the tentacles are attacking. And so he got up there to the point where like Tantalus's face is revealed and put the blindfold on. But because of the back in time things he did, he tricked the game into thinking that he's already been in the... No, it wouldn't be that. It wouldn't be one of the basically one of the things that you do after you beat the boss. So the game then loads the cutscene where you fight the boss, and then the boss is dead. Because it's like, oh, you've already done this.
Yeah, you've already
thing?
done this.
So the boss is clearly dead. You don't need to do... You know, it's not there.
That's hilarious.
So the any percent was 1 hour and 9 minutes and 37 seconds by Half JC.
It's gotta be one of the fastest ones, other than the like wrong warp to like the battle with Ganon and Ocarina of Time, which
1
was
hour
pretty
and 9 minutes
fast.
is really fast.
Yeah, especially since this game is like probably 40 hours, 30 to 35 to 50 hours of gameplay.
Yeah, considering how long it is and how detailed it is, like there's how big it is, just with other things as well.
Right.
I can't believe I spent $60 on this game.
$60 whole, and that was expensive at the time. Now they're like $90.
Right.
I think Tears of the Kingdom is $89.99 in Canada at least. So.
So Half JC made this record 7 months ago, and Gymnast 86 has second place also 7 months ago. That is just about 20 seconds slower, 1 hour 9 minutes and 56 seconds. And then 100%. First place is Gymnast with 6 hours and 46 minutes. And Exto Dasher is second place with about 10 minutes behind
Saying
that.
they finished this game 100% in 6 hours?
So this is also with the back in time stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So the 100% means you're getting everything. You're not actually going through it 100%. It's like there's no way.
Yeah, it means that you have your inventory is completely full of at least one of everything. So like the treasures, you don't have to get the full 999.
Right.
You have to collect every bug and every treasure. So any percent with no back in time for the Wii is 5 hours and 34 minutes. Gymnast.
Wow.
And Half JC is about a minute and a half slower than that. 5 hours, 35 minutes, and 56 seconds. So for the HD remake, any percent is Gymnast with 3 hours and 57 minutes and 59 seconds. So 3 hours and 58, essentially. Mm-hmm. Although, don't tell him that. And then Jason X, who is definitely someone Jaznix? Another thing I didn't mention is in the HD remake, you can use one of the amiibos.
Oh, yeah.
And basically that allows you to, while you are on the land, instantly teleport into the sky. Up in the sky, you do it again, and you go back to where you left last. So if you're in
that would be convenient too.
Skyloft, and you have to talk to Fi to do it, and you do it, it'll take you back to wherever it was that you ascended from. So a lot of the speedruns with the HD remake use the amiibo because it's faster. Although fourth place is by WCW, and they do not have an amiibo, but they are about 10 minutes slower than first place.
Which amiibo is it?
Probably the Loftwing one?
The Loftwing, although I think there's two.
You're looking to acquire it so that you can do the speed run.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
It's like I need a Loftwing to go with my Rivali amiibo, and so I can have a collection of Zelda birds.
Are there any other speedrun things that you want to talk about, or should we talk about music and stuff?
No, let's move on, I think.
Music.
Music and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think we normally talk about visuals and music, and we normally talk about visuals first, but I want to talk about music first, so it's there.
Okay.
In the past, I think we've talked about substantially about music and visuals. And sometimes I do things where I'll be like, I just want to point out specific things, like I highlight specific things I don't want to talk about. This is what we're doing this time. So I'm not going to talk about every single thing, probably. Also, the soundtrack is like 350 songs and sound effects, so I can't possibly talk about all of them, but I just want to talk about specific things.
I mean, you could.
I could because it's a great soundtrack.
Yes.
It's such a good soundtrack. I think it's actually an amazing soundtrack.
Yes.
The length of what I'm going to say is not related to, it's not like correlated to how I feel about the soundtrack. It's just more that I can't actually talk about every single song because I didn't have time to analyze every single song. And it's not like the same as like Ocarina of Time where there's like 6 distinct places or whatever where they have like their 6 little songs. It's like every location has, well, this is something that I wanted to point out, but like every location has multiple versions of like, there's like, for example, there's Faron Woods when you go there the first time. Then there's Lake Floria. There's Lake Floria when you're underwater. There's Faron Woods when you're underwater, or when there's water there. I don't think that changes when you're underwater, but there's like every location has like variations of songs. It's very atmospheric in that way. So there's no way that I can talk about every single thing basically this time.
Yeah.
Not without spending a long ass time talking about it. Huh?
Yeah. So isn't this the first like fully orchestrated?
Yes, that's my first tip. So my first point of talking.
I've got a fancy little CD in my
Yeah.
Wii box that came with it.
This was the first Zelda game that wasn't sequenced. So we talked a lot before, and also talked about like the Wii technology before. We talked about it for Twilight Princess probably. Like I'm not talking about it again, but this was the first Zelda game where the music wasn't sequenced and it wasn't computer generated or whatever. It wasn't made with samples. It's actually every piece is recorded. So when I say there's like over 350 sound like songs and effects, they may be short. It might be like a minute or 2 or 3 minutes, but they're all recorded by an orchestra, which is really cool. So there's a lot of variation in the music itself, but then it kind of plays on repeat. So there's not as many things as like, for example, there's definitely sound effects when you swing your sword and everything like that. But it's not the same as like Wind Waker, for example, where there's like multiple layers in the music where they were able to like, and I don't think there's any like, you don't notice like a quality difference from that. I'm just trying to explain that it's like technologically it's very different than the other games that we talked about so far. And I think it actually there's a lot of depth in this soundtrack. That's really wonderful to hear. And I enjoyed it very much. It was also like, because it was an orchestral piece, it was like one of the largest sound teams for any game. I think it was the largest, at least at the time, for a Nintendo game. There were like Koji Kondo oversaw it and Hajime Wakai was the leader, but there were like 10 people supposedly, according to Wikipedia at least. I couldn't see all their credits, but there was like a substantial team, which is abnormal. They're normally like maybe 5 people running sound. And because it was orchestral music, they had to create scores and like sheet music for all the music, right? Mm-hmm. So they needed people with special experience who weren't just like pulling up samples and sequencing them. So they had specific people on board on this project who had experience with like orchestrating, composing music for orchestra. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, it has an extensive soundtrack. And it also inspired them to do like record orchestrated versions of other Zelda games. There's like that orchestra CD. I can't remember its album. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. That's what I have to say about that. Specifically.
Yeah, I've basically had the Sky theme stuck in my head the entire like month we've been playing this game. We randomly. It's the
You mean
music
the one you're
that plays
flying
while
around?
you're flying around on the loft wing.
That one is pretty good. I like the Skyloft theme song too. Like, I get that stuck in my head a lot. All the areas have really good music. There are some that I wanted to talk about specifically. Like, I really like the Lake Floria music. And the other thing that I found interesting about this game is there are some songs that are repeated from past games. The most notable one, which I think also most people know about this game, is that Ballad of the Goddess is Zelda's Lullaby backwards.
Yes.
Ballad of the Goddess, there's like a part where Zelda's just playing the harp, and there's a part that's like a full orchestra playing the arrangement. But yeah, it's all based off of Zelda's Lullaby, so that's pretty cool. Backwards. I think it's also a slightly different key, but yeah. And then Zelda's Lullaby is used in the game like after in the temple after you pass through the Gate of Time when you're talking to Zelda. So there's substantial use of that. You would recognize like the hero, the song of the hero or whatever. That's like the main theme from Legend of Zelda. It's based off of the main theme. I was like, what the fuck song is this? Because whenever you play the harp, like Fi sings, but like it's not necessarily like, it's like at a weird speed and it's kind of like not understandable. But then when there's like the cutscene where you're playing the music, I was like, oh, okay, I finally recognize this song. And yeah, I guess one important thing is we've had some games where there are instruments and some where there weren't, but in this game we have the harp, the goddess's harp, which is also, we've seen it before, or maybe we saw it in the future, whatever. I don't know how you want to think about it, but it's Sheik's harp from Ocarina of Time. So I guess the lore that's established by this is that harp is established in this game and like passed down, you know, through Zelda's lineage or whatever, all the way down to Sheik/Zelda. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the harp itself is interesting, the way that you control it. I think maybe interesting, possibly frustrating. I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. Not like the fucking flute, the pan flute.
Yeah.
So it's easier than the pan flute. But you have to wave. You kind of wave the Wii remote like back from right to left in time, and there's time shown on the screen by this like circle that expands and collapses in on itself. I don't know if it was the easiest controls to follow for an instrument that we've had.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it after, and I was like, I wonder what was. Probably the ocarina.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, because like, the baton was not bad, but you did have to keep rhythm, so you...
Yeah,
like,
the Wind Waker baton.
Yeah. And then the howling was not...
The theremin. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. I forgot the howling was a thing. And then also there's like the flutes. I guess technically the flutes from like the 2D games were easier, where you just press a button and it just like plays Mambo's Mambo for you and you just like select. There's no like timekeeping with them. So I guess that would technically be easiest, but
my favorite thing to do is when you're like just get out the harp randomly when you don't need to, and then you can just have Link like freestyle it. Like
and it just like you don't like pluck notes, it just plays like it just strums like a chord, so it just and it strums it like at a specific speed. It doesn't even really speed up that much, even if you wave your arm faster. Like but yeah, it's kind of fun. And that way it was similar to another instrument where you didn't really have a lot of control. I guess the pan flute, you didn't have that much control over like whatever music was actually, but you had like the notes that you were blowing out of it.
Yeah.
What was the other one? I also want to make a list. I made a note to myself to make a list of all the instruments, because some of them are like, you know, they have varying level of like control and like output and how like interactive they are. But yeah, I don't know. I think the ocarinas were the most fun and easy. Like it was the best combination, you know. Yeah. But the harp it sounds really pretty also, first of all. And
it does.
And I liked that also you didn't have to start the whole fucking song over if you messed up.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Yeah, like Fi would just like, or whoever you were playing with would just like, you would start to like, there's these little like pedal graphic that appears as you're playing the song, and you play it enough times and it like opens the gate or whatever you're trying to do. Sometimes it would kind of like regress, like it would go back if you didn't play fast, like if you didn't recover fast enough. But yeah, you didn't have to start the whole goddamn song over, like with the Locomos, for example. So that was nice. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the harp. I thought it was pretty. I think harps are pretty. But
yeah, I think it was kind of soothing once you kind of got in the rhythm. Yeah. It's the back and forth.
I think the soothing was also the thing that the way that I described Sheik playing the harp. Sheik's harp, Sheik's theme is a harp. And I remember saying when we were playing Ocarina of Time that I was like, oh, it's like when you hear Sheik's music, you feel like everything's going to be okay. And I feel like the harp is like kind of, the goddess harp in this game is kind of similar. You're like, I'm playing the harp. It's so like, yeah, it's like soothing and fun and like not super hard, but you don't have a lot of control. Like you don't like pluck individual notes or whatever. So there's trade-offs, right? But I thought it was charming. And then you learn songs, but you don't really you don't pick the song that you play. Yeah. So you do play different songs, but you don't actually control it. Like you don't play, the only song you can choose to play is like the Ballad of the Goddess or whatever, when you walk up to like walls and stuff. But then like the songs to get the hero song or whatever, and the songs to open the, I guess the song to open the gate is the Ballad of Goddess or whatever. But I thought there were different ones, or you play different parts or something. Maybe you play
I think
different
you
parts.
didn't you play like different ones? Yeah, you had to play different ones for each spirit trial
Silent
gate.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's
learned,
what I
like,
thought.
Din's song and
Yeah.
whatever.
Feroy's song,
Yeah.
Nehru's song, whatever it is. Yeah. So I think there are different ones that you have to learn. You have to go learn them in sequence and then go back and open. But then you, like I said, you don't get to like pick.
Yeah.
You just play the song. You walk up to the glowing space on the ground and you play the song.
Yeah, it's just like, this is obviously the song you want to play here, so.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it was fun. So we got an instrument back in this game, which was great. And it's referenced later in Ocarina of Time, which is also great. Or before, and from Ocarina of Time, depending on how you want to look at it. I think the whole aspect of time in this game is great anyway, but we'll talk about it more in visuals, I think. The sound doesn't really change that much through time, except that it does with the... Yeah, anyway, whatever, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, those with the time shift stones, which is cool.
Yeah, it's both sound and visuals, so there's that. The next thing that I want to talk about was the Song of the Hero sort of like collection task. One of them actually involved you like picking up little music notes underwater, which is hilarious and reminded me of Banjo-Kazooie, first of all.
Yes.
But I like that it shows you like the little notes and you pick up little different ones. So it actually like, it's one of the only times that I've seen so far where they actually represent music in a notational type of way, other than like the wolf howling where it shows like the pitch kind of changing. Like there's like the high, medium, and low pitch. So it's sort of represented that way. But yeah, this time one showed like little eighth notes and little quarter notes and stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting.
Well, because like the ocarina was on a bar staff.
That's true. Does it show? And I guess it shows you the notes on the staff. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And they're the actual pitches that the actual notes are. Because the ocarina pitches are... Like, in other games we played, like, the musical instrument pitch might actually change while you're playing it. So, like, for example, in this game, the harp... Like, while you're playing the Ballad of the Goddess, it's one... it's, like, one chord structure. Or two. It's in one key. Some of the other songs, like the special songs to get into the spirit... to the Silent Realm or whatever, those are in different keys. So, like, the instrument changes pitch. But the ocarina and Ocarina of Time doesn't change pitch. And also, I think the Wind Waker changes pitch when you change direction. So, like, when there's, like, the 3 and 4 are the same, but the 6 ones are different in a different key. Because they play the special songs. The ones that you play, the duets with Medley and Makar. So they're in a different key. Anyway, it's sort of, like, really musical nerd of me to talk about, but anyway. So anyway, you have to collect the notes in that one part of the Song of the Hero portion of the game where you're building the song. And then one, I think you have to get something for the dragon, and then he just sings to you because he's sick or whatever, which is like hilarious. And Link looks so happy when they're singing, which is really cute too.
Yeah.
Same with like Levias, the whale. There's always a whale. But he also sings to you too, which is really charming. And then the dragons come and sing the song. The whole cutscene is hilarious and charming, at least in my opinion. Oh, and the cutscenes for the ballad, or like when you learn the special songs, or like then there's like the loft wings flying around and stuff. It was like the opposite, just as trippy as Ilya's Scary Dream, but the opposite feeling, like the opposite vibe, where it's like, oh, it's just so charming and relaxing, but still like weird. We're floating in the sky and there's loft wings. Even though we're in like the thunder place or whatever in the temple. Yeah. Anyway, that's my side rant about that.
Magic.
It's a magical song. Well, I mean, like they also don't. Doesn't the goddess statue's mouth move, which I also think is really uncanny.
Right. Oh my god. And Fi singing?
Oh,
Not
so
okay.
I don't like it.
No.
I like Fi's voice. I don't like Fi's mouth.
That was something important in the speedruns.
Yeah, I like when she's like dancing and stuff.
Yeah,
skating, whatever.
Cool.
But
apparently, some people don't like that, but they're wrong.
Is a little weird.
In the speedruns, if you just don't want to listen to her see her sing, when you're like opening the gates to the Silent Realm, if during the last strum you put your harp away, the realm will open, but she won't sing for you.
That's funny.
So you can skip it.
Like a quote unquote speedrun tactic that I'm going to use. to stop her uncanny mouth.
Link's just like, okay, we got it.
The gate's opening, that's enough. And she's like, oh, I wanted to do my ice skating dance. I was talking to my sister the other day, and she was like, and her stupid dances. And I was like, oh, that hurts me inside. Anyway, she was complaining about Fi and all her, like, unhelpfulness, but whatever. It's fine. Song of the Hero. Okay, we talked about that. All right. I've moved on to the part of my notes where we're talking about vibes in general of the music. So you talked about how the music is recorded by actual acoustic instruments, which I think gives it a very nice feeling overall. And in the HD version, I'm sure it's been like, I don't know if it's been re-recorded or whatever, but there's really good like bass and stuff. Like you're also getting a lot of like tones in the music that we didn't have as much range or ability to have before. Or we talked about some of the limitations for like, I mean, the earlier games were like, you could play 2 notes or 3 notes at the same time or whatever. And now we're in like orchestra sample time. So it's pretty great. And they have all the places have different music, and some of the most interesting arrangements are like the dramatic boss fight arrangements. This game had a lot of cinematic elements, and the boss fight music really reminded me of like movies, like really intense like action movies and stuff. There's like a full orchestra. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. Yeah, Skyloft has his little tune. Girahim has his own new theme, which is pretty great. Like we had. Basically Zelda and Link's themes kind of like brought back per usual, but I enjoyed Girahim's bad guy music. It was pretty great. I really enjoyed the Lake Floria and the underwater variant music where like you go underwater and everything is muted. I think it adds a really important effect to that part of the game, which is nice. They all had different, like I said, all the areas had multiple music. I think like how to talk about this so like a lot of the Zelda games as like the size of the map has been slowly expanding, the amount of like instruments and sort of like instrumentation and things from like different types of music are brought in. So like you have a lot of for example like in the desert, they're kind of continuing their sort of like desert theme where there's like wood flute and sitar and Spanish guitar and stuff like that they've used in other games, like particularly the Kakariko Village music from Twilight Princess. So in the Lanayru desert, not in the present. Yeah, in the present, there's a lot of this like sort of like wood flute kind of thing and that kind of sound. That's sort of like, I don't know. I guess that's just what people think of when they think of the desert. I don't know. It's a very interesting choice. And then like in the desert, in the past, when you're in the mine, there's all this sort of like bell sound, like bell is in xylophone, bell is in orchestra bells, that kind of music, which is pretty cool. So when you change time, the visuals change. When you use the time stones or whatever, the visuals change and the music changes, which is pretty cool. Even Girahim, so his theme is also used at the end as well, and it sort of also is played, I think in the regular times you see him, it's like played on a piano, but in the final fight it's on like an organ, very similar to like Ganon's music, which totally makes sense. So like a pipe organ kind of organ feeling, which is pretty dope. And also Girahim has special sound effects at the end because he's like, his body changes, so he sounds like Metal Mario. So he has like these like metallic walking around sounds and stuff, which is pretty cool. And his voice is also adjusted at the end too, in the final fight too.
I think Demise's theme has a bit of Ganon's theme at the beginning too. Yeah.
There's definitely, that's why I think that everything about Demise is sort of like kind of supposed to be, it's basically Ganon. Yeah. Or like the Ganon equivalent in this game and like hit Ganon in the future. Yeah. Like Demise gets reborn as Ganon or whatever. Yeah. One thing that I noticed that was interesting, which is a really, really small thing. I think this game, we should probably talk about it at some point, because I remember you're keeping track of things that are similar to Breath of the Wild from Skyward Sword. But there was one specific musical reference that I noticed, because, like I said before, a lot of this music is not, like, it's not like they, like in Twilight Princess, some of the music was reprised from and re-recorded from, like, especially from Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. Like, for example, like the Zora music or whatever, a lot of the music in that game had references to older Zelda games. other than the specific songs that I mentioned already, there weren't a lot of references to other Zelda games. There's like brand new music that has completely different like orchestration. Like, for example, in the water, like in Lake Floria, there's a lot of like trumpet and stuff, which there wasn't in any other Zelda game. And in other water parts of any other Zelda game, the desert one is kind of similar, but still like the rhythms and stuff are the same. There's a specific reference that I noticed, which is there is, the beginning of the Kakariko Village music in Breath of the Wild, where it's like a flute, and it goes do 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 do. It's the very beginning part. Now maybe you'll hear it when you're playing, but yeah, it's very similar. At the end of a lot of cutscenes, that tune is how the cutscene starts. So, like for example, when you meet Levias, the like Furore cutscene after the fight with Koloktos. That's the very beginning of the scene. I was like, that is a very specific that's a very specific melody that's then referenced in Breath of the Wild also, I think. At least it's something that I noticed. I don't have any other specific things that I want to talk about. Were there any specific music things that y'all really liked, or like areas that you really liked? Things you really missed from other games? I could feel like that could be. I don't know.
I did like, I think it was Lanayru, the little like industrial sounds to it.
Yeah.
Like the clashing and the like, that really fit.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked the
mine.
like the way the music changed when you were in the past compared to the present. Like you were just like walking from the like past area into a time shifted area.
Yeah.
It would add all those like industrial sounds and how they kind of mixed in with the beat of the music and everything. Yeah. I talked last time about how much I love when like music adapts like that. So
There was one other thing that I just remembered that I wanted to talk about, which is in the Ancient Cistern. So in the Ancient Cistern, there's like a lower level. I don't know what you would call it. There's like the purple part.
Hell.
yeah, exactly. Where the zombies are. Because Bokoblins wasn't bad enough, but they have to be zombie Bokoblins too. And all the bone pits and shit. Anyway, so in the Ancient Cistern, there's different music in the top part and the bottom part. And when you transition between the top and the bottom part, it has this like slide. The pitch changes as you're like going through different parts. Or maybe the sliding is at the beginning of the Ancient Cistern, I forget. So kind of like when you transition from one to the other, you hear this like weird sliding pitch. It's very interesting. But yeah, it's just interesting that level is specifically, so that dungeon has two different pieces of music.
that whole level is based on some like Buddhist folklore about like
Going to hell.
a thief climbing a like spider's thread out of hell or something.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. That definitely makes sense because you have to climb the rope out of the hole in the one part. And there's a huge Buddha also in there. Like the Ancient Cistern music also has like, I don't know how I would describe what type of music it is, but it has the like bells and like drum background that's definitely like from somewhere in East Asia, like maybe like Thai music. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know, but that whole level's music is very interesting. I totally forgot about the whole spider web thing. Anyway,
That's a really cool. That's a really cool dungeon. Like definitely one of the standouts of like the whole series. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I would classify that one as like the water temple of
it's sort
this
of
game.
a water dungeon.
There's water, and you have to do things in like a specific order, and you have to like pull some levers and go to different places and go there at different times, and like
stuff has to move around for you to be able to like get to different parts of the dungeon.
there's a specific order you have to hit everything.
Yep.
So it kind of reminded me of like the water temple type aspects, and by that I mean the Ocarina of Time water temple. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about, but that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think I mean the Twilight Princess one took a lot of inspiration from that with the whole like moving aspects of the temple around and having to do stuff in certain orders. So this has become kind of a water temple like vibe for Zelda games.
I think like a lot of the temple puzzles in this game in general had a lot of like trigger this thing, move this thing, then go back, then do this. Like some of the later temples had more of these like spatial type puzzle things where you go like you have to crawl through a hole and then trigger a thing and then go back into the same room and go above and then trigger another thing or whatever. Like I felt like that was like a really common mechanic across the dungeons in this game, I would say.
Yeah.
But they still had like lots of different mechanics though in all of them, which was nice. I think it was Twilight Princess we were talking about how like the dungeons were really different. Like they had a lot of different, or maybe it wasn't even Twilight Princess. I can't remember which game it was, but I felt like this game also had very different mechanics in all the dungeons, which was nice. They also had different visual styles. Seamless transition. We should talk about visual styles. I think the overall visual style is, I would describe it as like painterly. It has this sort of like fine art vibe. There's a specific artist that was mentioned. Yeah.
I was gonna say, sort of an impressionist. Vibe.
I think they...
Bit Monet. Yeah, I think there's
a note about it. There are notes about it.
Yeah, I've seen the painter reference because I think it's the same one that was like the inspiration for the movie Tangled's like concept art.
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense because they're very similar. It's definitely, so it's based off of an impressionist style for sure. In addition to being sort of this like painterly illustration style, it's also kind of a cross between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Like it's more like the older Link, but I think a little more like Twilight Princess is trying to be sort of more photorealistic, quote unquote. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but more realistic. And then I think that the Skyward Sword is a little bit more exaggerated. Like there's a lot of, like deeper color, less like natural looking environments. Whereas I think like when Twilight Princess tried to be like, this is like the real world, basically. I think the visual style from Skyward Sword is nice. And I think that Link and Zelda look really good in their sort of like style from this game. And Link is more expressive than in other games that we talked about. Like he gets some nice cutscenes. Oh, one other visual thing I want to mention is specifically there are a shit ton of cutscenes in this game. There's like over 120 minutes of cutscenes. Wow. So it's actually like a movie's worth of cutscenes and a movie's worth of like scripts. A substantial amount of cutscenes. And also one thing that I noticed is the cutscenes themselves are like very cinematic. Like you're being like chased by a boulder or like you have to run and catch something or whatever. Like it's very interesting, some of the visual choice for this game, and like substantial development time, not as in coding time, but development time was spent in developing the story and the dialogue and the visuals for these cutscenes. And every time you watch them, I feel like I saw like a YouTube video. I haven't watched it yet, but it was a YouTube video that just strung all the cutscenes together from this game. And I think you could get like the whole story from all the cutscenes. Like, I think it would be like an interesting watch, which is like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be like a nice, like cinematic movie kind of thing to watch, which is pretty cool. But yeah, there's a substantial amount of cutscenes that are sort of like that were specifically sort of like cinematic and animated, which is pretty cool. There's all the like door entrance cutscenes that are really intense for every single fucking place you go into, which is it has an interesting vibe that's added to the game. You don't just run in a dungeon; you like have to pause and watch Link descend because there's always steps going down into a dungeon into some kind of trial, which I think adds a lot of gravitas to them, which is pretty cool. What other things? So we talked about the overall visual style.
It's a pretty game.
It's a very pretty game. There's a lot of good the way stuff too.
It's probably not as much in the HD version, but on the Wii version, the way the backgrounds kind of blur, like at a distance, which kind of adds to that like impressionist style, because impressionism is always about like the, getting the impression of the of the thing you're looking at rather than a specific image. So.
That's true. I definitely didn't notice that, so maybe they didn't need it in the HD version.
Yeah, I imagine it was like
some kind of technological compensation.
Like the current of that day version of like the fog or
the Wii fog,
But like it made it like pretty to look at. Like sometimes I would just look into like the far background and be like, oh, it's like a painting.
I really enjoyed the desert. I mean, I didn't really enjoy the desert level that much, but I really enjoyed the like haunting like Hyrule crest that's like you can see in like the whole desert. And like the way that the time, I don't know how they choose like the lighting for that game. It's like it could be like lit as if it's noon. It's lit as if it's like 4 p.m. And the sun, or maybe like whatever, the sun is about to set. Basically, it's getting close to setting, and I feel like it gives that level like also a lot of like you feel like you need to get it done fast. Like it gives this sort of impression that you got like something that you have to get done. So there's something about the lighting angle in that level that gives it a lot of tension, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it reminded me of kind of coming up on the Arbiter's ground with the distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminded me of
Broken
that
down
too.
Hyrule Crest in the distance and everything.
Yeah, but then I thought Harbor's Grounds was a little bit cooler, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Well, I
they're
mean-
going for a more spooky vibe.
It's scary. Yeah, exactly.
with Arbiter's Ground.
This
But
is like,
a bit more
like a
urgent, I guess.
urgent, but also like a forgotten place. Like sand has come in, everything is destroyed.
Yeah,
you know?
it's more melancholy than spooky. I guess.
I think like the Arbiter's Grounds is intended. It was intended. I mean, it was a prison, so it was intended to be purposefully removed and in the middle of nowhere and imposing.
Yeah,
As opposed
Whereas,
to
this used
this.
to be a thriving area.
It was a
It's
big
just-
mine with a bunch of little robots and their robot overlords.
Yeah.
I guess because they're like, our masters told us to dig here or whatever, and some of their dialogue, and I was like, what? Okay. I mean, I guess they weren't just digging there by choice, but we were told to harvest time stones from here or whatever. So, but yeah, the aspect of time shifting in this game in multiple ways, but that specific area is really cool. The visuals are especially striking, where it's the desert's kind of I thought, oh, this is nice, and it's a very intensely rendered desert where there's a lot of different texture, and the color is cool and the lighting is cool. And then once it goes to the past where you activate a time stone, everything is vibrant and brightly colored. I was like, this is quite the contrast from the way that I was experiencing this desert before. I thought the desert was nice, but the past experience of the desert is even cooler, where it's very colorful and bright and vibrant. It's very nice. And the mine itself has all these decorative elements where there's the little robots and stuff on all the walls and decor and their little faces everywhere. It's very charming. The floating, the floating tracks and stuff, they all have this sort of abstract geometric pattern also, which is very, I don't know. It's just charming and vibrant. Even when those stupid Beamos are coming at you, I'm you're so cute with your little totem pole kind of vibe, and you have to chop them down. I don't know. And the little thing that shoots bombs at you that floats around.
Oh,
that one was actually the eye from Phantom Hourglass. The little floating beacon things or whatever they're called. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, the Beamos were cute. They're little sort of worried shift when they get them down to the bottom layer.
Yeah, exactly. They're oh no. And then you stab them. And then there's what are the heads, the bouncing heads called?
Armos.
Yeah, Armos. Yeah. There's those again, but you have to you have to use the pot to blow air at them to open their little mouth to access their how you turn them off.
Yeah.
They were hard, but I also enjoyed them too. I was like, oh, these are back. Basically.
They'd always be let me carefully activate one. Nope, they're both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way to the left side of the room.
Yeah.
Somehow end up in the middle, and you're damn it. There was a lot of the return of glowing tech this time. Everything that's sort of technological has that glowing Tron strip through it,
Yeah.
I mean that in a very fond way. And I enjoyed that. There's a lot of glow. Just like Twilight Princess, there's a lot of sort of glowy things. The Gate of Time is also similar to Twilight Princess, at least the interior part. The exterior part is sort of iridescent, purpley blue kind of color. And then the interior was that same sort of green. The weird... It didn't have that weird shifting effect as much as the one from Twilight Princess. The Gate to the Twilight or whatever. The mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was called. You know what I'm talking about. But they still use that sort of spirally layered effect in the Gate of Time, which was cool.
Yeah, it's also the way the cogs were that were spinning. It was sort of spinning out of nowhere,
And
into this realm.
It made this really haunting ticking noise that wasn't quite on time. It kind of had this echo. It kind of reminded me more of changing time in Majora's Mask, where you kind of go back in time and that you can hear the clock ticking or whatever.
Yeah, well, all the like clock images spiral around you, and you like plummet into the void.
Yeah. Just remembering how horrifying that game is for a second. But the clock transition is pretty cool. But it specifically reminded me of the part where the clock is slowing down, and you can kind of hear it like ticking and then echoing. So if when you're standing near the gate of time before you go in, it makes this like sort of faded like clicking sound. I guess we should have talked about that during sound, but I just remembered it just now. We were talking about the actual visual design of the gate too. But we had I think they had the marks in other games, but the mark of Nehru, mark of Feroy, and mark of Din all came back again. So like I think we had those in Ocarina of Time specifically, but also on like the pearls and Wind Waker. Like it's been repeated multiple times. So
Yeah.
and then you go like stab them into the ground to get the Triforce pieces.
I think we had like the precursors of those images in Ocarina of Time, and then they were like fully established in Wind Waker.
Yeah. These ones that are in this game are definitely the same ones as Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right that they were slightly different in Ocarina of Time, but they were getting there. Speaking of dropping into the place to get the Triforce, there's like the Silent Realm. One interesting thing in addition to the time affecting the look and feel of a place is the Silent Realm. So you have to return to all these places multiple times in the Silent Realm, which basically has this visual overlay that's like not dissimilar from the Twilight, I guess, in Twilight Princess, where everything's kind of like washed out in blue as if it's like evening time. And then you have glowing stuff, like the Tears of Light that you have to pick up, which is also similar to Twilight Princess. So there you go.
That's straight out of Twilight Princess. Like the vessel you put them in and everything is right out of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, except there's more of them and it's harder. And it's timed, right? It's basically timed because
Something like that, yeah.
it's like it's not. I
think it's the same amount of them. It's just not like nothing's attacking you.
Exactly.
You can too long and
you can take your sweet ass time finding all the bugs. You know, like, and some of them are even more hidden. I think it's the act of finding them is a little bit different. But
yeah, I guess we should have talked about that music again in the.
The horrifying music.
Too,
I definitely didn't.
Yeah, it's because like when you first enter the Twilight Realms, it has this sort of unsettling but fairly calm music. But then, like, the second you run out of time or step out of the safe zone, it's like if you played that music for someone and didn't tell them what game it was from and asked them to guess, nobody would guess a Zelda game. Like,
I actually
be like, I don't know, Silent Hill. Like,
Silent Hill. To me, it sounds like an '80s horror movie. It has this like synth. I don't know how it was actually. I mean, it must have been recorded with the orchestra or whatever. But it has this like bell kind of like sound effect in the background. They're playing like some kind of xylophone-y bell thing. But the way that it's affected reminds me of like a synth, like an 80s synth. It really reminds me of like 80s movies music, basically.
Yeah.
In a horrifying way.
An industrial quality to it.
Yeah.
Like in a different way than the Linear music does.
No, that's charming. This is scary. It's completely different types of like, you know.
Yeah, this is like like grinding rusty factory equipment kind of. Yeah.
As opposed to like ding ding, we're robots trying to mine stuff, you know. That's my professional opinion, professional way of describing it.
But it's effective. Boy, did it make me go.
Oh, I hate the ones where you step out. The first one, there's a tier of light like right in front of you. So you can at least get that one right away. But there's some where the first tier is like kind of far away from you and they immediately start chasing you. So it starts immediately when you start the task, which is horrifying.
Yeah, like the first one you get in the Skyloft Silent Realm is like, it's basically like a sprint race between you and
the Guardian
in the other direction. Is basically like right on top of you when you hit it.
Yeah, that one was horrifying. I mean, the whole thing is horrifying if they start to chase you, but that one was particularly horrifying because it's immediately right at the start. So, I found one thing that was visually interesting also, one specific place, or one, I actually want to talk about a different effect first, which is Girahim's diamond effect that he uses when he transitions away, and it's used during the fight, and it's used on those like gates during the final fight when you have to run down the spiral. And it's interesting. It reminded me of like the Twilight little like pixely things that we talked about before.
Yeah.
They kind of like float in between you and Girahim. Like they have this like 3-dimensional sort of like floating effect. I don't know how to describe it. The way that it's positioned, it appears to be floating, which is pretty cool. And then diamond texture on the fence just reminded me of those like the Twilight fence things around like when you go to fight the beasts, Twilight beasts or dark beasts or whatever they're called. The big ones.
Yes.
The big ones. Where you have to attack all of them at the same time. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the shadow beasts.
Shadow beasts. Yeah, I was like, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know what anything is called anymore. Listen.
Yeah.
And then Girahim's sort of like diamond level stage where you're following the textures repeated on the things where you fall down and have to stab him, which is pretty cool too. And then the very last thing that I wanted to talk about was like, the final fight. The place where the final fight with Demise takes place reminded me of the Dark Link room from Ocarina of Time, where it's kind of like reflected. Yeah. It does change, but like right at the beginning of the fight, it's kind of like the sky that's reflected. It also reminded me of like the moon, inside the moon from Majora's Mask. Yeah. And I enjoyed that reference, I guess. I feel like when you put them in the room like that, it reminds me of, it's like calling, it's kind of like referring somehow to Dark Link and how like you always have to fight darkness and the darkness in yourself. There's some kind of, I feel like there's some messaging there. It's my take on it. I thought it was an interesting choice. Yeah, those were the specific visual things that I wanted to highlight from this game. Like overall, super high quality and really interesting. Like there are a lot of really interesting character designs, but those are just the things that I noticed that I really particularly enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorite games visually.
For sure.
Yeah.
I had a really hard time ranking this game.
Yeah.
We could talk about our like final impressions, but yeah, it's a really beautiful game in like the visuals and the music, for sure. And I thought the dialogue was also really nice.
It had a really
thank you.
Yeah, it had a really good story.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like the characters were strong, like for a Zelda game anyway. You know, the relationships between the characters and the like little arcs they go through. It's
like, I think we were talking about last time with Spirit Tracks. It's like, I don't need it. I don't need all the Zelda Link like dialogue. Like it's cool. Like I get that they're you know, they're buddies now, but I really enjoyed, especially at the beginning or whatever, Zelda and Link's relationship as they're like friends and they're just like hanging out. It was very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a little bit emotional in the part where she's about to like seal herself in the thing.
I know. I was like, no, but you're just my friend from Skyloft. Then it's like, wait, I'm me, not Link. Like, yeah, you get invested in their relationship for sure.
Yeah, I like the part like the part where she says like, before I knew all this, I just enjoyed like being with you on Skyloft, and
she says, I'm still your Zelda. And everyone fainted. I mean, all the players.
Also, the way like Link like runs up those little stairs, like he's going fast enough that he like puts his hand down on like the top of the stairs, like you know when you're running upstairs really fast and
right.
Wind up on all fours for a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And she's also like, she gives you so many positive affirmations too, where she's like, oh, you've come so far, you've grown so much. I learned all this stuff, but it's like, yeah, that scene is also very touching. Especially when you've been apart for so long.
Yeah.
And you went to the Silent Realm so many times. Like, good, someone recognizes me.
Yes. Groose has his little character arc.
Yeah, I liked him in the end. There's a lot of good setup for growth and for jokes in this game. Like how they joked about his hair at the beginning. There's like a joke in the dialogue, and then Girahim says that. It's like, hey,
yeah,
we're allowed to make fun of Groose's hair. Bad guys aren't. Oh yeah, and then Zelda. Actually, what was most emotional about the thing Zelda said was that she was like, "I always woke you up, but now you have to come wake me up." It's like, oh, yeah. Who's crying? Who's cutting onions? I can't. I'm not crying, you're crying. It's a long game, too, also, so I do feel like you get very invested by that point.
Yeah. Because you're like, no, I went through so much to get here.
Don't go in the cocoon, bitch. I'm supposed to take you back to Skyloft. What about your dad? What the hell? Like, every time you talk to him, he's like, oh, I am worried about Zelda, but I think you'll be fine. I'm like, are you? I don't know. It's like, don't ask questions. Just keep playing the game.
Okay. He's probably like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do?
I'm not going to the surface. What's wrong with all these kids today? You know? He's like, I mean, you say that she's like fated to some destiny, so I guess it's fine. Although I guess he had all the knowledge of like the stuff from the past, so I guess he's like, well, if you say so, but still, it's like, your daughter's joined a cult, like, go get her, or whatever.
Yeah.
Concerns. Anyway.
Yeah, he did have a line where he said he was like starting to suspect that like Link might have been the like hero they talked about, so I guess it's fair that he might have also suspected Zelda's role and everything.
Yeah, probably. Well, he was like, I know what to do. Zelda, you be the goddess this year.
Yeah.
Groose, you lose the race. I mean, Link needs to win. We'll just see what happens. What could possibly go wrong? Them reuniting. Acting out their roles that they had all along. I enjoyed this game. I don't understand people's complaints. Maybe it's just because I played the Switch version and it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, I was not looking forward to this game because I remember I played it when it like first came out and it was fine. I enjoyed it, but like it was new and I thought I had rose-colored glasses and stuff for like the excitement. Because I tried replaying it and I could not get very far before I just kind of got bored and put it down. And I don't know exactly why because I played it this time and I had a blast. It was wonderful. I took the extra time to almost beat the game 100%. I think there's like one or two side quests that I thought I didn't have time for because I thought we were recording like 2 weeks earlier, and then I spent that other time doing like watching the speedruns and stuff like that, so I didn't pick it back up. But yeah, I wanted to keep playing, so I went out of my way to do some other things. So I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good game. I think it's got a really strong main quest, and I think it's lacking a little in the like side quest and exploration area, which are usually pretty strong in the Zelda games. Like I really like the surface world and like the progression that goes on there through each area, but like the sky's a little lacking. Like you've only got like one main area, and
That's true.
then like the island with the inn, and then like it's just a bunch of like little floating rocks with like a treasure chest on them for the most part.
Yeah, it's definitely like not as interesting as like the islands from Wind Waker.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also, when I played this game before, I also wasn't super invested. I didn't play very much of it. I'm not sure how far I got. I don't remember if I fought the imprisoned or whatever the first time. But I remember doing most of the stuff in Skyloft at the beginning, like most of or being like, oh, I remember this place, or I remember this thing when I got there. So I got a lot farther than I thought. I thought it was really good. I wasn't as like, the game that I most wanted to play out of all of these was like Ocarina of Time, probably, and also like Wind Waker, but I knew everything that was going to happen in Wind Waker. The game that I want to play most, I didn't know anything that was going to happen, was Ocarina of Time. I was like, oh man, I'm really excited to play Ocarina of Time later today. And I didn't feel the exact same way about this game. I definitely was like, I really want to play it. I had a bunch of other things going on. We discussed outside of recording that I didn't finish. But like, I definitely I wasn't thinking about it all the time. Like I thought about Ocarina of Time. I'd be like, I wonder what's going to happen. Like when I go to this dungeon or whatever. Like, I'm not saying it was bad. I just didn't think about it as much, I guess. I didn't like, I don't know. Wasn't as intrigued, I guess. I don't know. But it was such a good game, and it's like so nice to listen to, and it's like so fun to engage with, and like I thought the controls were generally good. I did complain to you, Kayla. I complained about my the Switch controller always going out of, I had to reset it like basically constantly, which I just like got used to doing. But so that was the only thing that was a little bit weird, but all the like sword controls and stuff were totally fine. Like I didn't have a problem with that. Or like we have to stab or rotate or whatever, like that was all fine.
What do you mean by that? You have to reset it?
So you can reset so like, when you start playing the game, you put the Wii controller down like on a flat surface or whatever, and it calibrates. Yeah. You can recalibrate. I guess I don't know if you can do it at will in the Wii version, but basically at will you can recalibrate the Joy-Con. So you basically like hold it at whatever position you want to be pointing at the screen, and then you press Y, and it will recenter the reticle, and it like recenters the like re-levels it or whatever. However, it's using the motion controls.
Yeah, you can recenter it. You can't do the whole like recalibration thing at will, but
yeah. So like I could just like put it on a table and then press Y, and it would be flat again. But I had to do it like basically I sent a video to Kayla, and I was like, I would take the beetle out. use it one time, call the beetle back, take the beetle out again, and the screen would start like spinning, like as if it was like rotating. Like it already, so it was like literally one time every single time that I did something. Almost every time I did something, I had to reset it. And like the walking on tightrope-y things never really worked out for me. I always had to climb them, like that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it's just me or just my Joy-Cons, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the deal with the tightrope balance, it took me a little while to figure it out. You're not trying to like stay perfectly center. You just like when he tilts one way, you're supposed to like adjust it. Like I don't think you're ever gonna stay perfectly center on it. Like originally, I'd be like trying to hold it.
Yeah, like
perfectly still, and then I realized like he's always going to tip to one side or the other. The whole game is just to tip to the other direction and readjust him.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that one wasn't the one that bothered me though. What bothered me was like use the beetle one time and then have to do it immediately. Like I found that very strange.
Yeah, I would have to readjust sometimes. Usually after I was like swinging it wild.
Yeah,
in a
that makes
battle
sense.
Or something, but not as often as you had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have mostly positive feelings about the motion controls with the. I was thinking about it, it's like I think they're like 80% perfectly functional, 10% really frustrating, and 10% the coolest I've ever felt playing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like 80% of the time you don't notice because you're running, and then like 10% are really cool because you're slashing, and you're like you land like a perfect hit on an enemy that's like just the right. They had their gap like just the right way. And then the other 10% is like me spinning around the reticle spinning around because I needed to reset
even some
it.
of the theatrical moments of like drawing the sword out of the pedestal and stuff,
and putting
and,
the sword in the
and
ground,
just jabbing it in the ground are really cool.
It is really cool. I agree.
Yeah, I think the only times I was like got really frustrated with it was in the final battles, which I think ran into the same kind of Spirit Tracks problem of it asking for like a little bit more than the like technology was quite equipped to deliver. Because like I had trouble with Girahim when you have to break down his giant sword. Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I genuinely don't know what I did differently when I finally managed to beat him than all the times it wasn't working. But but I got through that somehow. And then during the fight with Demise, when you're supposed to like catch the lightning.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes Link just, like, wouldn't raise his sword up, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, put your sword up! Put your sword
Yeah.
I mean, I guess one thing about the Switch version is you can definitely always get it to point up if you, if you reset or whatever, so that would be easy. The other thing that was the most
it's
annoying
just, like,
was
there was so much, like, it was, you had to do it so quickly, so, like, there wasn't really time to, like, readjust, so eventually I beat him by eventually getting into the rhythm of like, he's not lifting it right away, just give up, swing your sword a few times, and get it the next time. Just get out of the strike zone,
range.
so he doesn't smack you. Yeah. But
the one other really annoying thing for me was like in this game you can throw bombs or you can roll them. So I still never figured out how to orient the controller exactly the way I wanted it to. That when initially, so I'd have to like kind of wiggle it, point it up, and then I think it was confused and it would like point down. And I was like, "What? I don't know which way I need this to actually be." So I don't know. I think that's also just a me problem. But
I was going to say,
I struggled with that.
So I never threw my Wiimote or did any property damage, but I did at one point upend a bowl of potato chips doing a down to up strike with the sword.
Oh no!
I swung it upward and like caught the lip of the potato chips.
I had
they went flying everywhere.
I had the Wii or the Switch, the Joy-Con straps on and stuff like at first, and then I was like, "Screw this!" And then I didn't have any problems because they're less slippery than Wii remotes, though, and they're less heavy, as we discussed before. So I don't know. I wasn't super worried about it, but I didn't throw any, and I don't think I hit anything. But every time I really bad. I said earlier I'm really bad at flying, and every single time I had to fly, my arm would end up being like I was like stretched out as far as possible for like no reason, like in front of me, like go up, go down, and it's like you don't even have to do that. I just like really struggle. I just wouldn't think about it and be like, why is my arm so far away from my body? Like halfway through trying to fly up to Skyloft or whatever.
Yeah. I actually really like the motion controls for the flying and for the beetle and stuff. Like
I love the beetle.
The slight tilts to change direction works really well.
Tilt up and tilt down, and then like lean it to the side to turn left and right. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The story was good. The music and visuals are good. I know people didn't like how it was linear, but it's like it's still 2011. Like I don't know. I know some of the critics were like, "Oh, there's like more modern open games or whatever," and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a linear game.
No.
I do think
The lack of exploration.
like even most Zelda games are pretty linear. Like
Yeah.
there's more I think the problem is there's more exploration and side quests and stuff you can do in other games compared to this one, so they feel less linear. But
And
like the
also-
main story is almost always pretty linear. There's a couple games where you can do dungeons out of order, but
That's definitely true. But like one thing was like you had all these. One thing that annoyed me about the sort of linearness was like, or like kind of, I don't know. It's an aspect of the linearness, but it's like you can't like teleport between all the. You can't just go to a statue and teleport to the other statues. You have to go take go up and then like go back to the sky, go back to the portal, and then choose where you're gonna land. And it's like we had quick travel in like Majora's Mask. Like, why wouldn't you do it here if you're gonna put in statues like this? I thought that was kind of strange, personally. And then
I
you
feel like
can't-
that was almost entirely so they could have Groose follow you down the
probably. That's fine. You can't. It's hard to like explore to go to different areas too. Like you can't really just like walk from the woods to the volcano, or you can't just like walk from the woods to the desert.
Yeah.
I mean, like kind of later you can, but like that was also one thing. It's like in Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time and all the other 3D Zelda games, you can go like you can traverse the whole map like by walking, and I feel like in this game it was sort of restricted where you had to go up to the sky or whatever to go to those places.
I think I've read that they wanted them all to be interconnected, but just couldn't manage it with the
it seems like a lot. Like
either the production timeline or the technology available
yeah,
at the time.
I'm sure there's a reason, but I think it's a criticism that it's a criticism that I definitely understand. Where it's like,
Yeah, it would be cooler if you could if
Just
they were all
walk
connected
through.
on the surface world. But
let me walk all the way through for no reason. Like I would do it. The maps themselves definitely feel like very enclosed too. Like you know, like a lot of areas have like walls around them or whatever. Like
But I do really like each of the individual areas.
Me too.
And like how they progress as you go through the game. Like you visit them multiple times, but it's never exactly the same. Like
it's never the same. And then like you can expand, like you go to different parts of the areas, so it's like you're kind of familiar, but then it expands a little bit more. Like that was nice.
yeah, like you go to the Lineru like main area, and then you go to like the Sand Sea part and stuff like that.
Which was all very charming.
Yeah, and then you have like Pharaoh Woods gets flooded at one point, and
Yeah.
like Elden Volcano becomes a weird little stealth game at one point.
Yeah.
Which is kind of reminiscent of that. I think it's Oracle of Ages, where you like crash land on that island, and the lizard people steal all your items, and you have to take them back like in a
Yeah.
certain order.
Yeah. There was definitely other like I can't remember if it was that game, but there's other games that have that sort of like aspect to go get all your stuff. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about ranking this. Does anyone have any strong opinions?
I settled on putting it under Ocarina of Time. Like, more out of respect for Ocarina of Time than, like, a lack of enjoyment of Skyward Sword, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It is hard to decide if it's better than Ocarina of Time. That's like, I feel like all my ranking was like, is it better than Ocarina of Time? And that's like, that's point one. And then it's like, it becomes a ranking between them.
yeah.
I don't know. Right now on my first I had it below Ocarina of Time, and then I changed my mind after I finished watching the playthrough, and now I have it between. So I had. Also I forgot to mention this earlier, but it's been live for a long time. But I made a doc because one time I was editing this conversation and it was really confusing to me while I was editing it. So I made a public. Oh, it's not a doc. Sorry, I made a public page on our website, togetherpodcast.com or whatever. That has. There's a link in the show note. Hold on, let me get the. Hold on.
Whatever our website is.
I don't remember what the page name is. Staytogetherpodcast.com / there we go. Okay, yeah, so it's staytogetherpodcast.com / LOZ-game-rank. And it's also linked in the show notes if you don't want to type. But yeah, so it has all our ranking because this conversation got really confusing now that we've played like whatever 12 games. So this is the 13th game that we've played. So anyway, okay, back to what I was saying before. I had it below Ocarina of Time for me, and now I have it above Majora's Mask. So I have Wind Waker, then Twilight Princess in this game, because I definitely don't think that it's better than Twilight Princess. And I think that's just a matter of personal enjoyment. I don't know if it's a matter of personal enjoyment, because I think that also, like, I think, like, Midna's a better sidekick. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have I can't tell if it's just below Ocarina of Time or just above Majora's Mask. For me.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I think it's hard to rank because like parts of it are really, really strong and parts of it are kind of lacking. So it's like the visuals and music are really, really strong. I think the main quest is really strong. It's lacking a bit in the overall like world and exploration aspect, and the controls are a bit janky, though not as much as people say.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I had my specific complaints, but it's
like
not
Ocarina of Time is a little janky too. Like,
it's janky because it's an N64 game.
Yeah, it's an N64 game. So, like,
yeah, it's hard to say. And then I think, like, there's, like, okay, this game also has, like, you're going back in time, you know, so it has, like, a lot of similarities to Ocarina of Time. Like, and then the story, obviously, I think the story in this game is really on point. I think it does a really good job of establishing the lore, kind of tying all the lore together of other games, which makes it really good. And then the visuals, obviously I mean, the music also is just amazing. And the visuals are really like peak because it's, you know, best technology so far that we've played a game on. And it doesn't stray like too far from other Zelda games, you know, like I feel like it's still within the Zelda family in terms of visuals and stuff. It just has like a very, like a nice aesthetic, a newer aesthetic, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it reaches a nice, it reaches a nice like happy medium between realism and stylization.
I'm going to keep my rank for now of between, so for me it's Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Majora's Mask, then Ocarina of Time. But it's really hard to decide. I agree. I also felt the same way as you, where I originally had it below Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and it's like I wavered back and forth. I just settled on there, like I said, more out of like respect for Ocarina of Time and like all the things it does, rather than any lack of enjoyment of Skyward Sword, because I did enjoy Skyward Sword a lot.
I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as Twilight Princess, though. I'll say. I don't know why though. Like I don't know. Twilight Princess is like. I feel like Twilight Princess is like the best iteration of Ocarina of Time, and then Skyward Sword is like the only version of itself. So like, and then also we know Breath of the Wild is coming. Like we're gonna play Link Between Worlds, but then Breath of the Wild comes next, and that's like a whole other level of video game. This is like the last, you know.
I think Twilight Princess is kind of like like the best like classic Zelda, like without a weird twist to it or anything. Like a Zelda game when you think of a Zelda game. So.
There's like castles and you know, I don't know, like it's
because like I have Wind Waker and Majora's Mask above Twilight Princess, but those are both kind of oddballs in their own way. Like they're not really like the Zelda experience.
And I think Twilight Princess also is like very like I think the Zelda series originated as this sort of like medieval European fantasy vibe game, and like Twilight Princess has that aesthetic, and it's like the maximize that aesthetic, whereas things like Wind Waker and Minish Cap, they have this, I think, like a different side of fantasy, and I think like Skyward Sword leans more into that, where there's floating islands, there's like, you know, Minish Cap is like there's little people that like, you know, and you can just switch to their size and their perspective, and like Wind Waker is sort of, it's like in this out of this world kind of experience because it's like cartoony, but then also it's like you're in the ocean, and then there's like the world underneath the ocean and stuff like that. So I feel
they're
like
a bit more on the
more
like whimsical extreme of fantasy compared to like the more quote unquote grounded like medieval castle knights and dragons kind of fantasy.
Yeah. I think Breath of the Wild is a whole other genre of fantasy, probably, that we'll get to later. But I don't know what it is yet. But I think it's like different than those. Yeah. And so I think that's part of the difference.
Post-apocalypse fantasy.
It's post-apocalyptic, like pioneer fantasy or something, which I feel like is a very popular type of game these days.
Yeah.
Because you're going in. I mean, so it's post-apocalyptic, so nobody's there, but you're like out, like striking out into this unmapped world where you're going out and recovering all this stuff. Like,
it's further post-apocalyptic than you usually think of with post-apocalyptic. Like,
it's like the world
has started to regrow. Even if people haven't started to rebuild that much yet.
Exactly, but then there's still some ruins. Like, there's still a lot of ruins in the series, but like it's like nature's taken over, and so it has like this sort of post-apocalyptic, like really lush aesthetic as opposed to like post-destruction, like the desert aesthetic in this game, for example, where there's just like it's barren. It's like a different type of anyway. It's very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Cosmo, you didn't say your rank yet. We've talked a lot.
I think I'd put it right underneath Minish Cap for me.
Oh, underneath Minish Cap. So
really
both
like
of
Minish
you
Cap.
both of you said it was worse than or you ranked it below Ocarina of Time, not worse. Sorry. That's not the right way to, I think we've already decided that we don't rank these based on some kind of objective quality ranking or whatever. It's more about our like feels basically at this point.
Yeah, you can go to like those ranking sites to get a quote-unquote objective quality ranking, like, where they summarize the reviews and give them points and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this game has one of the highest ranked. It had, like, I think according to Wikipedia that I was skimming earlier, it has, like, an aggregator review of, like, 93 out of 100 or something, which is, like... But, like, all of them are like that. Every single time where, like, nobody's ever, like... There was never a shitty Zelda game that came out. Like, there was never even, like, none of us liked Zelda 2. But nobody was ever, like... That game sucked. Like, critically, that game was bad. It didn't. It wasn't ingenuitive. It didn't utilize technology to its maximum. Like, none of those Zelda games are like that. So, like, it's then you're just
there's
ranking,
no
between
there's no bad
apples.
mainline Zelda games. Yeah,
No, I don't even know if there's bad non-mainline ones.
Well,
how do you feel about Tingle's Rosy Ruby Land?
we'll say non-mainline ones made by
CDI
Nintendo.
ones? Yeah. I don't even know. Like, I'm honestly, I don't know what the quality of any of those games is. They're like very outside of the story, though, right? Like, they're not considered canon and stuff. There's some that have like different stuff that
I haven't played them personally, but all evidence points to them being pretty terrible from what I've seen of the gameplay.
Are you saying the Philips CDI wasn't a heavily invested in and profitable like game system? Like, I don't know, or whatever. I don't even know, but. Yeah, basically they're all good games. So the question is, like, then you're ranking them based on what? And we've discussed a lot of reasons why we like them or not.
Yeah,
Cosmo just loves Minish Cap, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the coziness and like the relaxing nature of Minish Cap to me. I think I really like. And so I like that one too much. And then I think like Wind Waker, Ocarina, those I have nostalgia for. And
I feel like we all have our like one oddball ranking that we just like really like that one. Like I still have Link's Awakening like right below all the 3D games because I just really liked Link's Awakening.
Although we all said Majora's Mask we all ranked Majora's Mask better than Ocarina or higher than Ocarina of Time. It's like I have Phantom Hourglass really high. That's the one that I have below Ocarina of Time. So because I really like Phantom Hourglass. Yeah, and you like Link's Awakening, and then Cosmo also has Phantom Hourglass below here. So Cosmos is Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Minish Cap, then Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Yours, Kayla's, is Wind Waker, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Skyward Sword. And then Link's Awakening, as you said.
Yep.
And then mine is currently Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time. So I ranked it higher than everybody, than you two. It's hard, though. I still don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'll change my mind later. But like I think that I personally rank it higher than Ocarina of Time, but it's really hard to say whether or not it's a better game than Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. But I'm certain that I wouldn't rank it as high as Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
So therefore that's why it's there.
Yeah. I do think of Minish Cap when I think of this game, like visuals wise, like they both have like really standout visuals to me, like.
And they're both like this, like a similar, not the same aesthetics, but like a similar like vibe. Like Cosmos, like Minish Cap is such like a calming and charming game, and I think a lot of this game is too. Like even when you land in Faron Woods for the first time, where it's like you don't know what's going on, like you don't know where you're going yet, you don't know what kind of how hostile the land is below because all you heard so far is rumors, and it's like charming little woods with like flute music and cute mushrooms and like
tiny birds.
It becomes horrifying in the Silent Realm. But like, yeah, you've no idea, and that's kind of like your first introduction. And even Skyloft itself is a very nice, idyllic place where there's little waterfalls, and if you accidentally fall off, the bird police will catch you, and whatever. like there's Beetle's there flying his little bike-powered store around, floating around.
Sorry, I'm just like, the bird police.
Yeah. One time I jumped off at night because I wanted to go somewhere, and they're like, "Hey, buddy," and I was like, "Don't tell me what to do." Just because Nintendo didn't want to program the sky at night. How rude.
Yeah, I was like,
really funny.
Yeah, I was like out there at night after like doing something with Patro at the beginning or whatever, and I was
Yeah.
like, I think you can't fly at night, and I threw myself off the ledge, and I was like, yep, can't fly at night.
I just wanted to go do the next thing that I needed to do, and I was like, motherfucker. That's really funny, though. I was like, it reminded me of Lakitu or whatever from Mario, where they're always picking you up. For Mario Kart, specifically.
Yeah.
So,
And waggling his finger at you when you're going the wrong way.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was I really enjoyed this game. Mm-hmm. At least I enjoyed the amount that I played out of it. I would like to go back and finish playing it. It's something I look forward to finishing playing when I have a lot of time to go through and play it, because it's such a long game. Mm-hmm. So much longer than I thought.
Yeah,
I thought.
Yeah, I think this is my longest story summary script, and I cut down a lot to
It's very complicated.
try and make it more brisk.
I feel like Nintendo is like, you go to this, do these 3 things, then do these 3 things, then do these 3 things, then you can finally fight, and then the last fight's like 5 steps. So it's like, and then I remember like in Skykeep, I was like, oh, this is the level where it's all the other levels, like they like to do that too. Like there's a lot of repeated mechanics, sort of expected, or mechanics that are really easy to figure out if you've already played a bunch of Zelda games. So, yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the music and the visuals. I thought that was lovely. And the HD version is really nice if you're thinking of buying it because you like this game or you haven't played it yet. You should definitely get the HD version, and you have a Switch. And you don't have to use the motion controls like we talked about. So if that's something that you didn't like about it, then good news. You can try the stick ones. Stick and button ones. I wrote a bunch of quotes that I was going to use for the end. Which one was the one I actually wanted to use? Oh, what I said was, well, personally, I've come to consider the information corresponding to our time together among the most precious data that I have on record. So, but my second follow-up choice was, when you see Zelda, tell her I said, what's up? I was like, oh my god, Groose. Fucking moron. Anyway, lovable moron.
Groose is great.
Yeah, he's great. Anyway, I hope everyone's excited for Tears of the Kingdom. When this episode comes out, we'll only have like 12 days left. Or 11 days left, I guess, because this episode comes out May 1st. Tears of the Kingdom comes out May 12th. So everybody be ready. I'm super excited. I have my pre-order in. Join us June 1st for A Link Between Worlds. And hope everyone enjoys Tears of the Kingdom. And we'll see you again. Oh, thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. Thanks for putting up with us, lol. We'll see you then.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
This sets Link toward his next destination, the Gate of Time within the Lanayru region, a place fiddling. Fiddling. Just fiddling
Kinda.
the whole desert. Link sorts that out, and then the Sky Spirit tells him what is needed to find the Triforce. Ow, motherfucker, what are you doing? Get out of me. You can cut that out.
I thought you were just trying to enact what Levias was feeling. Also, I was gonna make a joke about. I took too long to think about it, but I was like, oh, I bet you could use ivermectin for that. But then I was like, then by the time I thought about it that long, you'd already gone on to.
It's sort of just like a really bad case of roundworms.
That's what it seems like.